Now I'm playing with power.
Great graphics.
He's traveled across time and space. Finally, he's here. The ultimate Terminator. He looks mean. He sounds mean.
Fuck you, asshole.
And with the awesome hand blaster, he's a real mean machine. The ultimate Terminator for the ultimate Terminator adventure.
Chill out, dickwad.
You're close. Give them to me.
Somebody said alien. She thought they said illegal alien and signed up.
We're the Space Marines, Drake. Ripley.
I don't know which species is worse. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage.
8-Bone.
You secure that shit, Hudson.
Bishop. And I'm Hicks.
He's Hicks.
Space Marine figures and alien figures, each sold separately.
In the future, you have to defrost a cop to put a criminal on ice.
Let's go blow this guy.
Sylvester Stallone is John Spartan, the Demolition Man.
You shit.
The toughest cop in the 21st century.
This is the Rapper.
Wesley Snipes is cold-blooded Simon Phoenix. Hands up! But Demolition Man always keeps his cool.
Why didn't you just shove a leash up my ass?
It's the ultimate confrontation as power-armed Terminator faces certain death, only to return stronger and more powerful as Techno-Punch Terminator.
I need a vacation.
Terminator 2.
Ripley's got the power loader!
Get away from her, you bitch!
Did you call moi a dipshit?
It's a boy!
Wish I could have met my real dad.
No Hicks! One for dinner, no reservation!
It's the Flying Queen alien and her gruesome gorillas. Send in the ultimate Space Marine, ATAX.
Who?
In his big, bad bug suit.
I'm back. Got to find John Connor.
But evil T-1000 gets to him first.
Holy shit.
Terminator's heavy metal cycle zeroes in and fires. But T-1000 stands to get even.
You're next, John Connor.
Oh shit.
Fuck you, lady.
Good answer.
Where, you little meatball? You are what you eat!
Silence is free!
Are all fluid transfer activities like this?
The future isn't big enough for the both of them.
You really licked his ass.
Demolition Man, figures and Bola Jet each sold separately, new from Mattel.
Fucking A.
The dreaded beast versus the savage hunter. Aliens versus Predator. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus with whipping dreadlocks.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
And the ferocious mother alien in her monstrous hide traps Spike Tail, then covers him in ooze.
Jeez, you got a big pussy.
Aliens versus Predator. Queen High playset comes with mother alien figure and ooze. Other figures sold separately.
Jeez, you got a big pussy.
It's like I was made for this.
You look lonely.
Absorb it. Let it wash over you.
Any of you incels doing a 4chan Snyder cut motherfuckers want to get out of line now? Anybody? I think so.
The only way that you can really stop this kind of thing is to arouse public opinion. It's very upsetting. It has a bad moral effect.
Forced adversity.
Ask yourself, what's more terrifying? Fear or the frightened?
The facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire.
Bad, B-A-D-D, bothered about Dungeons and Dragons.
Up yours, woke moralists.
Socialism has spread the shadow of human regimentation over most of the nations of the earth.
And they're pushing identity politics with this. They 100% are.
How do you think homosexuals reveal themselves?
And the shadow is encroaching upon our own liberty.
I think there ought to be a law against them. Tonight I'm going to show you why.
Welcome to the FAP. Nancy used to do that for me. Handsy Nancy, I call.
Hello, and welcome to the FAP. Nancy did not do that for me. Yeah. In 1 week, that's happening. But yeah, I mean, look, it's gonna suck. Prepare for that. But it may not suck in all the ways that we expect it to, and it may suck in worse ways than we don't expect it to. I don't know what I'm saying, but maybe Morgan does.
It's gonna suck, but we're still here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we'll maybe we won't be after next week. I don't know. You know,
yeah.
Keeping our mind in our P's and Q's and not criticizing the emperor and whatnot. We'll see what Bob of the old ways take is.
It's gonna suck.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's like, you know, the news already is giving me flashbacks to the fucking news cycles of the previous administration of his, you know, shit like this.
Now, this might strike some viewers as harsh, but I believe everyone involved in this story should die.
It would be nice.
The laughter at the end indicates, in case there's any CIA or, you know, Secret Service watching, that this is humorous.
It's supposed to be a joke. It is funny, as the humans say.
That was all said in Minecraft.
Legitimately, I don't want JD Vance to be president. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's,
well, I don't want Elon Musk to be president either, but
that's the same thing.
Be stuck with him. Yeah.
We'll see. So to be vice president, do you have to be a natural born citizen?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Okay. That makes sense. Since you very likely could, or very possibly could have become the president. So yeah. All right.
Right.
That would be pretty easy loophole for any non-native born people to become president.
And
the Constitution is just words on a piece of paper. It has no real power.
I swear to God, I thought you said the Trumpstitution.
It's getting there.
Maybe I did. Perhaps that we'll have to check the feed later.
Check the record, yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Reagan, come back from hell and save us.
Oh, and by the way, on behalf of the people of the United States.
No, he's not going to save us. Be pretty funny. He comes back from hell and he's like just as fucking senile and shit as he was when he died. He's like, it's already confusing because I came back from hell, but also I still have severe Alzheimer's.
Anyway. If you brought Reagan back from the dead and he still, like, because of the Alzheimer's, still thought he was president, that would create some very funny.
A reality TV show.
It would be. It would be.
I feel like Reagan, if you brought him back from the dead and told him that Trump was president, would kind of just die again.
Yeah.
Well, he'd be like,
that's
Democrat?
like the kind of thing.
The Democrat.
It's like that joke in Back to the Future where Marty says Ronald Reagan is the president in the 1980s, and everyone's like, "What? The actor? What are you talking about?"
Right.
I mean, it's also in Watchmen. You know, even though it wasn't Reagan, it was. It ended up being.
It was a different actor.
Nixon.
No, it was after Nixon. It
was
after
Nixon. Robert Redford.
Yeah.
Right. Because of Redfordations.
Mm-hmm.
Which, you know, restoration or
Yeah.
Reparations. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, they call it Redforations in the Watchmen show. Anyways, welcome to the FAP. We're fapping on fire.
Yeah, it really itches down there. It's
yes, I braved the flames to get here one time just for this stream.
Literally.
Yeah. Literally. For those watching who don't know, I do live in Los Angeles, and as of right now, I can see one of the fires from my porch. It's nowhere near me, and it's going in the opposite direction, but I could step outside right now and see one of the fires.
This is footage from Bob's porch right here. You gonna be all right, Bob? You sure you got time for this podcast, man? I don't know.
I did say the flames were nowhere near me.
Oh, well. That's
clearly, there's like at least 10 feet of space right there.
One of those
Right.
retardant screen doors is what you got there.
That's the power of the gay agenda, is it creates a force field that blocks allies from being burned.
Yeah. Well, except for on Facebook.
Well, yeah.
Where everybody's going to be burned.
Well, yeah, because Zuck is a worm, and the worm turns as the worm turns.
I mean, I know this isn't the we're going to get into the fire thing. I just wanted to show this. Like, this is so fucking Weasley. Like, what it seems like is that he, being tech bro, and probably has had nothing like a social life, since he's been fucking rich.
Right.
That, not that he had a super healthy one before, because it was the guy, remember, that just wanted to create a site to rate chicks. Probably fat.
They're probably fat.
And not in the good way like we do.
No,
we don't. That's not fapping a chick. Forget it. But yeah, so he seems like he got into fucking MMA stuff and then was like, "Oh, dude, I'm an alpha bro now," and alpha, that's what I've been missing all this time. And so like he goes on Rogan, and he still looks like a fucking robot, like a broken one.
He's great value data.
This is the logic used for,
is going to, probably be defending his nomination for Secretary of Defense on the Senate floor. And I think one of the points that he's made is that he thinks that women shouldn't be able to be in certain combat roles. And until we updated our policies, that wouldn't have been a thing that you could have said on our platforms, because it would call for the exclusion of a protected category of people. And it's like, okay.
And we looked at this the other night, and a point I didn't really make because it just kind of evaded me with how stupid the whole thing is. It's just, that Pete Hegseth is not an elected anything at this point.
He's nobody.
So he would be going on the floor because he's been appointed to defend his ability to, be in the cabinet. And then just because this guy was appointed and then happened to mention some shit, you know what I mean? Happens to mention some shit.
Yeah.
Now that means that, it's been said on the floor of Congress.
Yeah.
I mean,
it probably will be said during the confirmation hearings, but
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Fair point. I just think it's funny that Zuckerberg is trying to emulate the look of Caesar Augustus here with the hair.
He really is. What the fuck?
Do you guys? I don't know if you
I'm
guys
not kidding. That's not a joke.
I'm not kidding.
He really is.
Completely serious.
He's really doing it.
To the Behind the Bastards episode on this motherfucker, he fucking idolized Caesar back when he was in college, high school, and stuff. Like, this is a motherfucker who has idolized legit authoritarians and just like, it's one of these guys that doesn't see the morality of what they do in history. He just goes, they got shit done. They knew how to fucking run shit.
And I think something we're going to touch on throughout this discussion with the fires and stuff is that the rich understand class solidarity, and the rich understand what's going on, and they will protect themselves and each other.
Yep.
Before they will stand on anything else. Mm-hmm. And so the reason why Facebook had any rainbow capitalist features before was because they saw that as a way to build their market. And now they see that as detrimental to their brand. And if the wind changes the other way, they'll go the other way. But in the meantime, he's never going to sell out another rich guy. And neither will Rogan or any of these other assholes.
Okay, well, you know what? I do want to, this is tricky because, look, I don't want to say that they're like morally good corporation, because they're not. They do some shit, including, I'm talking about Apple here. They do some shit, including, slavery, in order to mine the, fucking, is it cobalt for phones?
Yeah.
And shit.
Well, a lot of components in your cell phones, regardless of who makes them, are made with what is effectively slave labor.
Laptops too.
Any computer electronics is made in the worst conditions imaginable.
However, to their credit, I guess, but not really, because they didn't do it for the reasons that you would wish they'd done it. But so this really should be its own FAP, and it probably will be once we get into some more information later on, something like after today. So Apple's board recommends shareholders vote against proposal to eliminate diversity programs. So if you've seen on YouTube and whatnot, chuds have been fucking crowing victory because so many companies are abandoning DEI initiatives and programs and stuff, right? And that's technically kind of true. There are several companies that we're seeing with Meta and stuff like that have abandoned that shit. Of course, their chuds are saying it's because, it doesn't work and it's bad and wrong and evil. Of course, that's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because the National Center for Public Policy, a conservative think tank, is basically going around intimidating them, and that they're, not threatening, but like telling them you're going to lose a bunch of money if you keep doing this.
Right.
And Apple apparently was just fucking, their bean counters looked at that and said, actually, I think we're going to be just fucking fine. We're not going to get rid of it. So Apple, in a weird kind of backhanded credit kind of way, did the right thing.
Well, Elon Musk to buy them.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing when it comes to all of these tech companies. We've seen this with, Elon Musk having to, bulldog the president or president-elect when it comes to H-1B visas. It turns out that a lot of tech companies rely on the indentured servitude of H-1B visas to get educated workers who aren't entrapped in the American education system.
Yeah. I mean, what's really fucked up is when you think about it, they're just trying to maintain a long-held American tradition of bringing in, workers to do a job that really Americans, could and if we won't get into that but the point being that bringing in people just so they can pay them less to do a job that needs to be done. And it's arguable that these need to be done, but
right. Also, on the less evil side of that, is that from there are several advantages to having a diverse workforce because they have different perspectives, and that means you're seeing more errors, you're doing more quality assurance, you're not just yes-menning each other and missing problems because you all have a similar perspective on things. There are legitimate benefits to it. And when you're Apple and you sell your brand as a quality boutique product, which is what they do, you need to actually maintain that. And one of the ways they do that is by having a diverse workforce.
Yeah. It's pay them less to get the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at railroads. I mean, literally the fucking White House.
Right.
I mean, that was literal slavery. Built that one. So what the proposed cited Supreme Court the proposal cited recent Supreme Court decisions and made the argument that DEI poses, quote, litigation, reputational, and financial risks to companies and could make Apple more vulnerable to lawsuits. Apple responded that it had a well-established compliance program, because the thing is about Apple is they've been doing shit like this probably longer than most.
Right.
I dated somebody probably 2012 or so who worked for Apple, and I remember her talking about it and being pretty whoa, they kind of got some progressive fucking policies going on there. So yeah, this well-established compliance program and the proposal was unnecessary. It added that the shareholder proposal was an inappropriate attempt to micromanage Apple's business strategy. What? Apple is an equal opportunity employer. It does not discriminate in recruiting, hiring, training, or promoting on any basis protected by law. We just make our iPhones with slaves. The news was first reported by Tech. Okay, so Meta, Amazon winding down diversity programs. But yeah.
So in this analogy, all of the other billionaires are Smudboy and his deranged cast, and Apple is the Birdman, saying, "Oh, get woke, go broke." I don't think so.
I don't think so. Look at all of our mountains of money.
So yeah, there's this they literally are threatening them now that I look at this. It's
they're threatening them.
They're threatening to sue them.
Yeah.
So who is National Center of Republican bullshit. What's this?
It's one of several of these. Like, this is one of dozens of these things tanks. So we've talked about several of them on the show.
I didn't see any names that I recognized really, so I was surprised by that. I thought we'd see some, I don't know, somebody. But like, they seem to be kind of one of these that keeps their they don't have like a front and center kind of a shit stirrer from what I can tell.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Who are some of the names? We might.
Well, David A. Ridenour. Amy and David Ridenour. That's the CEO. Oh wait, so she passed in 2017. Her husband, David, is president.
Who about the notable associates or staff and directors?
Well, so just to know, so you know what they're doing, their work is in the areas of free markets, environmental and regulatory policy, retirement security, constitutional law, the First and Second Amendments, religious liberty, academic freedom, defense, and foreign affairs. Particular areas of interest include global warming denial, endangered species, energy policy, environmental justice, job growth, and economic prosperity, property rights, of course, legal reform, healthcare, Medicare reform, Social Security, civil rights, foreign, and every one of those. It's not stated explicitly, like it only is in a few of them, but they're on the wrong side of every one of those.
They're a council of demons.
Yeah. You know how some people want to make the world a better place, and some people are just like, nah.
We want to make it a worse place so we can make a buck.
So they're a member of the advisory board of Project 2025. So
that tracks.
There you go. That definitely tracks. They got their funding from, breakdown was 94% individuals, 4% from foundations, and less than 2% from corporations. But, was this like 94%? Is that like 90% of that is from the one Koch brother that's still alive? You know what I mean?
Probably. Like it's, individuals probably means, some rich assholes.
Cool. They lead up a group of
Black conservatives.
What's the word? I always forget what it is that you taught me, and I forget it every time. Morgan, the word for somebody that thinks they're gonna be safe in the new regime.
Quisling.
Quisling, yeah, it's a good word. Bunch of Quislings.
Hey, we got a Wisconsin reference. There's the Bradley Foundation.
Oh, cool.
They're based out of Wisconsin. There's our Wisconsin's the villain once again.
Anyway, so they've interviewed and been quoted on a variety of policy issues since '92 on Fox News, even on MSNBC's Hardball with Chris Matthews. What? But they're so left wing.
No, they're not. I mean, they're not the New York Times. Let's be like, they're not that bad, but there's a lot of Iraq war apologia that was going on MSNBC for me to think of them as like anything more than
Peter
Schweizer, center left liberal.
Let's see.
Alex thought I was talking to it.
Jeff Bezos is spying on you. It's good to tell Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any names that I recognize, to be honest. There's a bunch of them here. But
let's see.
What about the notable associates might be names that you recognize?
True.
Yeah.
But the whole point is to staff it with people that aren't public figures.
Right.
Joe Roach and Peter Kirstenau.
Don't know who either of those guys are either.
No.
Oh, look.
This is not the first time they've tried
to do with dealing with these motherfuckers. They're like, they tried to force them in 2014 to disclose the cost of its sustainability programs. Crazy.
Which
Apple has dealt with these guys before.
So
that's why they're not scared of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and like part of Apple's sustainability program, as far as I understand it, is their like phone recycling program, which is just cost recovery.
Here's a name. Disgraced lobbyist Jack Abramoff.
Jack Abramoff. Oh, there's a name we haven't heard in a minute.
He resigned in 2004 after the board concluded that he violated organization's conflict of interest policy. Well, yeah. So, okay, yeah, he did a bunch of fucking greasy money shit.
Yep.
All right. Well, there you go. So that's who these guys are actively, and I would imagine if we look into, I forget the name of the legal group that was formed post first Trump administration, headed up by that vampire Stephen Miller. He's got a law group that they specifically focus on. They're a little bit more heavy-handed, and he's of course out front being a vampire with all of it. But like they do basically the same thing. They're going around throwing lawsuits at companies for hiring a woman instead of a man or whatever. Like, and
there's a whole.
This isn't something natural that occurs. These are think tanks and funded by fucking billionaires most likely. And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. There's a whole ecosystem in Washington D.C. of think tanks that are just fronts for conservative, rich white people.
Yeah.
To throw their money around and throw their weight around with politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been doing it for 50 fucking years.
Yeah. I mean, the Rand Corporation goes back to what, the 60s?
Yeah. But I mean, like, I mean, like, think tanks that have very neutral sounding names, like the National Center for Public Policy Research, that when you hear it, you don't think, ooh, that's a fascist front. It just sounds like innocuous.
The group for fascist evil bullshit. Like,
yeah,
your back.
It's not like this is why the Legion of Doom was kind of a silly concept because it's a little on the nose there. They wouldn't have called themselves the Legion of Doom.
Right. It's the Brotherhood of the Evil Mutants thing, right? Like,
yeah.
It's a little on the nose, Magneto. Were you high?
Have you ever heard the in-canon explanation for that? Why he said that he named it that?
No.
There is one. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I kind of get what they were trying to do. Basically, that he said that he didn't want, or that he knew that people considered mutants, or the people that were going to consider mutants evil already did. And so he figured that he might as well make sure that they know what their intentions are and that these are not the nice mutants, these, and almost in a way to distinguish it from the rest of mutants so people would not blame them for the terrorist shit he was about to get up to. Yeah.
So it was irony.
Yeah. He's saying, we're the evil mutants. It's like the, what is it? The Church of Satan? Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
But yeah. Anyway, there's that. And then there's fires going on.
Yeah, the world's on fire again.
And I was reading about Gavin Newsom because haven't followed his actual governance career very closely at all, but I've seen him on shows and stuff like that, and he's an affable, seemingly smart guy that I appreciated his debate with DeSantis. He kind of fucking stomped his ass. I don't even know what DeSantis was thinking there. But now I understand that he's a kind of a shitbag in other respects. But he did create a website to dispel misinformation. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to say before we go into any of that we are not fucking like, ooh, Newsom's our man. You know what I mean? But he is, as far as I can tell, generally factual. And I think when it comes to fighting this fire, I have no reason to believe that he's not actually trying to do it to the best of his ability with his resources.
He's a standard Democrat,
right?
In the good ways as well as the bad ways.
Bad ways, yeah. Because he's been involved in a lot of the anti-homeless, anti-poor propositions in California.
He ran on instituting universal health care in California and then didn't even mention it again after he got elected. So yeah, standard Democrat shit. But he's a good debater. He's a very good debater, and he's on the policies you would expect standard Democrats to be good on. He's very good on them. So like reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, he's pretty good. Civil rights for people of color, he's pretty good. Environmental stuff, climate change, he's really good. But don't ask him to turn down corporate donations.
No, he will slurp those up. Slurpy, slurp, slurp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just looking at our... okay, let's look at this one. This seems like a really good spot to check out some misinformation. On Matt Walsh's Twitter.
Oh, boy. That's not just Matt Walsh. That is noted child genital enthusiast Matt Walsh.
True. It's not the one that was just on the podcast right now. the Necro Goblicon podcast, which was Upright Citizens Brigade's Matt Walsh, who, whenever he came on, he's the Goblin host, John Goblicon. He's like, I was looking you up on Google, and I was like, this guy's not funny at all. And he was like, yeah, there's that other Matt Walsh. He's kind of got in the algorithm there, and he comes up first now. He's like, but I'm the good one. I'm not the evil one. He's like,
right.
Oh.
That's why we have to talk about there are two Matt Walshes, one of which is a child genital enthusiast.
Yeah. 1 second. I'm turning my camera off for a second. But yeah, only men should be firefighters. We all know this. It's a job that men are uniquely qualified to perform. There are few women on the face of the earth who can carry a full-grown man to safety. LA set out to deliberately reduce the number of male firefighters, a suicidal policy.
Hey, you know what? There are very few men on the face of the earth who can carry a full-grown man to safety.
True. Including Matt Walsh.
Yeah,
right.
Not to mention the fact that he's acting like every full-grown man is like some big burly fucking 6'2".
Yeah,
and he's literally built like a twink.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, I've known women that could probably just like throw him over their shoulders, to be honest.
I know personally some women who could.
Yeah. But hey, it gets worse. He goes on to say worse shit. So here's this. I don't know what the point of this. Okay, it's only 5% of working firefighters. Well, let's watch this first. Let me reshare so I can have audio.
See, if Matt Walsh thinks watching Sonic 3 was torture, I want to make him watch Sonic 3 over and over and over again.
Okay.
If I have to carry.
Let's go back here. And you guys heard that okay?
Yeah.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire. You want to see somebody that responds to you.
All right.
Okay.
To be fair, that wasn't a great response.
No.
So
yeah,
let's see if this
not a
is
great response.
There.
But this is a classic example of nut picking.
Yeah.
Of course, the
but
assistant
she's
fire. So like this is actually a really good example, the firefighter situation, because it applies to pretty much anything where this is the discussion of like, can women do the jobs of men or whatever. It's like they've literally done the same training to become a firefighter, meaning like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, I'm sure some of you have, like in my hometown, there's a firefighter practice course kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's like this, they built this, cement building that's all kind of bombed out and shit so they could practice carrying fucking, real life weight dummies and stuff like that up and down. And like, by the way, to carry people, they don't just like carry them with their hands often. There's like, they have like devices that they can harness.
Tools.
It's fucking ridiculous. They're just grabbing with their hands and literally throwing them over their shoulders. But yeah, these women have done the same training,
gotten all the same certifications, gotten passed all the same tests.
And if they didn't, then
they
like,
wouldn't be firefighters.
They're also women who are willing to fucking do what firefighters need to do, which is not something most people are willing to do.
Yeah, so every one of them is braver than Matt Walsh.
Right. Yeah,
but he goes on to say terrible things.
Of course he does.
Of course, the assistant fire chief acknowledges that she can't pull a man out of a fire, but says it's okay because it's his fault for being in a fire to begin with. These people are pure abject evil. Now, I don't know. I mean, how can you say
that's not what she said exactly? He is playing with her words, but it's a case of nut picking. That like this woman does not speak for all firefighters or all women who are firefighters.
This was shared by InWokeness, which is almost certainly what's his name?
Jack Posobiec.
Jack Posobiec, yeah. And also, she is the assistant fire chief, so she personally would not be someone carrying a person out of a fire in most circumstances. She's an administrator,
right?
Now she probably worked her way up through the ranks and had to do that at one point, but that's not what she does now.
Also, I have to imagine that sort of candid reaction to that question is something a lot of firefighters would say.
Yeah.
That's probably, she is not the only firefighter of any gender to say that. I would bet real money. I would bet Matt Walsh's job that I could find a guy firefighter who said that.
I have,
or something to that effect.
I have known some firefighters in my day because of the gym I used to go to, and they said that very same sentiment many, many times. Like if you have to call me, you done fucked up.
Right.
Is the general sentiment.
Right.
So the comments, the replies, just I don't want to spend a lot of time on them, but it's very telling, I guess, or reminds me how dumb people are. Here's this fucking woman who decided she's going to disagree. And, I'm relatively sure she's conservative, Matt Walsh fan, but she said, I'm sorry, that's not true. Women can be firefighters. The thing is, what is your role? There should always be more men able to run into the building and rescue people, but the women can operate the trucks and keep water flowing. Women can help too. We just need jobs on ability. 0 likes.
Right.
Aren't these the people that accuse our culture of treating men like we are disposable?
Yeah.
And that's something that they're very mad about.
Matt Walsh loves treating men like they're disposable, though. That's
so this one says this is pretty funny. I have a friend who's a firefighter. Heard him talk all about the training on pulling the loaded fire hose. Is that a euphemism? I'm sorry, but as a woman, I don't see how women who don't have shoulder strength, as the hips are our center of gravity, can pull off that feat. So once again, it's what we just said. If they trained in it, then they can do it.
They have the training to do it.
Yeah. Right. And tell me you've never worked out without saying you've never worked out.
Not once in their life. Yeah.
Hey, look at this guy. He's got 6 likes on his. This is where it gets fucking crazy. This is the exact kind of person I imagine watches Matt Walsh. Is it possible that we as a society have intervened too much in life and death situations? It's a little bit like playing God, no? Deciding when to save a life is a very delicate and fragile process. It's similar to time travel. We're altering history.
No.
Sorry, I didn't read the rest of it before just now.
Twitter, I have not been on Twitter in I don't know how many months now.
It's just firebomb the whole thing. I've got this account that has like no followers, and I'm just using it for purposes like this.
Snoop account, yeah. I the brain damage on display. I don't know what else to call it. Just the complete lack of cognitive ability, the rot.
It's like time travel. You never know. That baby you're running into that fire to save could be Hitler.
Could be the next Hitler. So just don't save babies that are burning.
Let the babies burn.
Let the babies burn.
The pro-life community, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and then there's the trad community. Here we go.
I'm sure they have wonderful things to say.
I don't even know how this relates really, but the Theron Bassett says women choose courtship, men pick wives. Women are conservative with who they date. Men are conservative with who they marry. Women are picky when it comes to sex. Men are picky when it comes to commitment. To be a wife, you have to be selected. We need fathers to teach this. All right, I'm just having fun.
That was in response. That was a response to Matt Walsh's tweet.
Yeah.
What the fuck did that have to do with?
So Grok here has some answers about how much a fire hose weighs and stuff. So like depending on the size, 1.5-inch hose, dry one, 50-foot section, 1.5, it can weigh approximately 14 pounds.
No woman could possibly lift that.
That's really hard, guys.
Let's see, 1.75-inch hose, 20 pounds, 72 pounds if per firefighter if staffed by 2. Which, I mean, I don't know anything about firefighter training, but whenever I tend to see them really fucking fighting a fire, like at a building or whatever, there's usually a couple of them holding on to the hose. Am I wrong?
Right.
I mean, the weights are crucial for firefighters to consider as handling these hoses, especially when charged, require significant physical effort, impacting operational strengths, strategies, and the number of It's just like the guys that tend to comment on this, like Matt Walsh, is somebody that fucking probably barely ever does any physical anything, but he still assumes that he's a fucking physical badass specimen, right?
Right.
Even though he doesn't do anything. And so he can't fathom that a woman could actually train and be fucking stronger than him.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's that. So, that's all misinformation, obviously. But let's look at some other misinformation. And then we'll look at some not misinformation. So right here, apparently Whitney Cummings is, I guess, the new fire department. I don't know. People are messaging her, texting her, saying there are people trying to put gasoline in sewers. It's happening all over. Her neighbors caught a guy setting more fires on the back of our hill. It's happening all over.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so Walt.
Now, I want to point out the story that her neighbors caught a guy setting more fires on the back of our hill.
That could be controlling.
Is true if she lives in the neighborhood that I'm thinking of, because there was a guy, one guy, arrested near one of the fires on suspicion of arson, and he was detained under citizen's arrest by the people in that neighborhood. So it is possible that she lives in that neighborhood.
Sure.
Isn't it also possible? Like, I'm pretty sure they do very controlled burns to like create a boundary for the fire, right? Like if
they
you
do,
burn,
but this was a guy who was arrested. He did apparently had like stuff to. I shared an article from Newsweek about it in the Discord, and I saw it. So this is an example of like something that is sort of true getting exaggerated by like people saying, "Oh, it's not climate change. It's the the mole men in the sewers with the gasoline."
So yeah, here let's break it down just to go into a little bit. Like even if this fire was started by a human being, or these multiple fires really at this point, the conditions on the ground to cause it to spread like this are the results of climate change.
We should be in the middle of our
Climate change did not just
right. Go ahead, Bob. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, in Los Angeles, we should be in the middle of our wet season right now, and we're not. It's still as dry as it was in summer.
Right.
So we had an excessively wet season last year because the atmosphere is hotter; it can hold more moisture. So that led to a lot of flooding last year, but it also led to exponential vegetation growth. And then this year, we had a drought because of climate change. And that extended the dry season from summer into winter, and all of that vegetation that sprouted up dried out and died. And that caused the fire to spread more quickly, along with the winds being, the Santa Ana winds being stronger than usual.
Right. So it's like, even if they get to the root cause of this and, some idiot was in the woods, made a campfire or whatever, and it got out of control, that it got out of control is a product of climate change.
Well, unfortunately, I guess fortunately, apparently some people were under the impression that the Hollywood sign burned. It didn't. This is
wish.
Like this, but I am sad to report that the Hollywood sign catch fire. Sorry for all of you that never got to see it in real life, but it's gone now.
What did you? Have you guys watched BoJack Horseman?
Yeah,
once or twice.
The D goes away, so it becomes Hollywood, and it just remains that way for the rest of the show.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff.
Was it The Tick, where a villain tried to carve his name in the moon, and then they stopped him, and then every episode after that,
Moon still had
the part of his name that he managed to get there was still on the moon.
Come on, Byron. It doesn't.
That's the joke.
That's the joke.
It's fake. It's fake.
It's a fake.
Do I even have that still?
You gotta have a Romulan senator.
Come on.
He's the third host.
I don't think I do that here. Jesus Christ, what's wrong? Wait.
It's a fake.
I miss that guy.
Well, I mean, I did have a backup just in case. Like, if that one wasn't going to work, I could have went ahead and dropped. Where's it at? Well, shit. Maybe I don't have this one.
Yeah, Garrick had nothing to do with his death.
It's false. No way. Not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction. It's fiction. It's fiction. Total fabrication. It never happened. It never happened. This one was invented by a writer. Not this time. It never happened. Not a chance. Not this time. It never happened. It never happened.
So I was trying to eat some more.
It's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
And I will make it a threesome.
Wow.
Thanks, Worf.
Thanks, Worf. Thanks, Worf.
His name is Senator Vreenak. Mr. Garrick had nothing to do with his death. No, of course not. Why would he even? No. Mr. Garrick is just he's a humble tailor.
He's a simple tailor, really. Yeah, I don't know why anyone would think Garrick had anything to do with his death. He's, just a very heteronormative Cardassian tailor.
We had back-to-back Simpsons references right before that. I just didn't call it out because somebody said Hans Moleman, and then I said that's the joke.
Right.
Now we got to get in some Star Wars references, and we'll be
good.
We'll hit the trifecta. Yeah. It's a trap.
Your mother.
Hello there.
I hate sand.
So one of these.
I do what I can.
All right, get out, Dan. You're canceled.
We are
stupid humans.
That is true. We are stupid humans.
We're going to fire you from your own show.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Yeah, that's no good. Don't do that. So, anyways, how you guys doing?
Should we? Are we going to talk about the people, all the people screaming that the fires were caused by DEI?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should do that.
I mean, I guess so. Like, guys, so we were talking about this with Eric Bunks and stuff, and he's frustrated because he's like, guys, I don't want to fucking make a bunch of videos every day about how Nerdrotic is lying about the fires and shit.
Right.
He's like, you don't have to. So on the Shillcast, if we don't even really talk about it. We can just do a quick segment where we'll be like, new segment is Nerdrotic lying about the fires. Yes. We move on.
He said, I didn't even see that he said anything about the fires. Doesn't surprise me though.
Yeah, same.
I can even guess what it was. Let me guess. He says that because the LA Fire Department is run by women, therefore the fires happened. Or
of course.
Yeah, okay.
So here's a fun fact. I was listening to a Leisha Miller video earlier today, and of the 20-some people in leadership roles in the LA Fire Department, 3 of them are women.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 people out of a whole department get all of the blame. How very usual for Nerdrotic. Good God, man!
Well,
a writer.
I think the argument is that they diverted resources that would have been otherwise well spent on fire prevention and diverted them to training these women who will never be able to do the job anyway. So it was a waste of money or something.
I know where that money went, and it was the LA County and the city of LA gave it to the cops.
Yeah.
Not to training women firefighters. They gave it to the police to round up more homeless people.
Yeah. I shared a budget breakdown that was circulated by the city comptroller, Kenneth Mejia.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say his last name. Mejia. Showing the LAPD budget compared to every other department of Los Angeles city government. And it is not cool.
It is insane how much money we spend on militarizing our police force. It's money that we could spend to solve the problems that they're paying the police to not solve.
For the amount of money the LAPD gets, I expect to see them out there fighting some fucking fires.
Right. Where are they in all this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nowhere. Oh, well, they caught like a looter, I guess. I saw there was some news article. They caught
they caught a looter.
A looter, yeah.
Well, they arrested that guy in Whitney Cummings' neighborhood. I mean,
that's two. They
weren't totally useless.
That's not totally useless.
So yeah, looking at this article here, could be the most costliest wildfire event in history. Well, that seems kind of given.
Yeah.
The most expensive wildfire season on record was $30 billion in 2018. I remember that one. This included the most destructive wildfire on record, the November Camp Fire, which devastated Paradise, California, killing 85 and destroying 1,880 buildings. I'm sorry, 18,800 buildings. That cost $20 billion. Okay. So more than that is a lot.
So here's another part of this that is going to become a recurring problem. So this is an unseasonably dry time of year. It's unseasonably dry in California right now. It's led to these wildfires. This is the dry season in Australia. And if you remember in early 2020, before the end of the world, Australia had tremendous wildfires, and several countries were like, well, our firefighting equipment is sitting collecting dust this time of year. We're going to lend it to you to contain your fires. And now that can't happen. We are no longer in a world where we can divert those resources as easily. And on top of budget cuts and stuff, there's just everyone's going to be fighting their own fires, and it's going to make it harder to share resources.
Yeah. Another little known fact, the cities of Los Angeles and San Diego have been out of water for several years, and been buying it from a billionaire family
who owns all the land rights.
Look, so here this demonstrates perfectly the drought situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So these are two Santa Ana wind events, as in like the Santa Ana winds hit some fire and took that shit.
That's crazy.
And yeah, there's like that's insane. Like, so what is that? How many years is that?
14.
14. Thank you. Whoa.
Yeah.
Just whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and a lot of rich people in southwestern states want to start pumping water from other parts of the country into the Southwest because they've depleted the aquifers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. John Oliver did a really good segment on that once.
It comes up in the news here all the time, living on the Great Lakes, where they're just like, go fuck yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We got all this water and you can't have it.
And I would not be surprised. Now, this is not entirely tinfoil hattery on my part, but a fair bit of tinfoil hattery on my part.
Cool.
That Trump's "we're going to annex Canada" thing has to do with this water issue, because one of the things that stands in the way of anyone on either side of the Great Lakes drawing from the Great Lakes is a treaty between us and Canada, that your community has to be so far from the Great Lakes basin to take lake water by this treaty. Otherwise, you need a special exemption to take water, and you have to do things to make sure as much of that water the wastewater gets treated and goes back into the basin.
Well, you have earned this drop.
Now let's talk about the Transformers agenda, aka they're putting chemicals in the energon and trying to turn our bots gay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Paul.
I mean, it's not the most harebrained thing that I could imagine Trump doing. I guess I would just need to see some thing.
Right. It's like I don't have a through line, but they just sort of, because it was out of nowhere, and it's been a thing that we hear about Wisconsin all the time, is that these rich people in Southern California and Arizona want our water. That it would not surprise me if these tech billionaires that live in California whispered that in his ears. I don't have any proof of it. It is completely tinfoil hattery on my part, but I'll at least own that fact.
I mean, I might make like a little drop just for anytime you feel like coming up with some tinfoil hattery. We'll preface it with a drop, and
I get my own drops. That's so
sweet. His rhetoric about Greenland is very similar. Greenland is one of the largest deposits of the rare earth minerals that are used to make Teslas.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Strange coincidence there.
Weird. Yeah, I mean, it's just you have to willfully be, at this point, denying climate change is almost like a sport for conservatives. I think they mostly like, somebody like Nerdrotic. I bet he fucking knows that climate change is real. You know what I mean? Like, it's just they don't think it's gonna matter to them or something. They don't give a fuck, and it's just whatever.
So do you know who does know climate change is real and believes in climate change?
Trump.
Donald Trump. Donald Trump has cited climate change in several of his properties for tax valuation purposes.
Oh, that's true. I remember that.
Getting seawalls built in Scotland, I believe. Not only that, a lot of the companies that give to him are involved in the insurance industry. And the insurance industries believe in climate change, which is why they cancel homeowners insurance and renters insurance policies in Florida and California at increasing regularity, because they believe in climate change. They go, if fucking shit's going to burn down, I'm not going to sell insurance policies when I know the fire is coming.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to lead with was, who believes in climate change? Insurance companies.
Insurance companies do.
Yeah. And the Department of Defense, by the way.
The Department of Defense believes in climate change.
Their long-term projections for where we're going to have to project American force in the next 20 years are all based on models of climate refugee movement.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I'm starting to think he's going to be bad for the country.
Just figure that out now.
I mean, look, whenever something seems too smart for Trump, it's because it is, but he's got people that tell him stuff, and he trusts those people.
Yeah,
right.
The problem with Trump being president isn't really just Trump in a vacuum. It's that Trump is completely corrupt, completely corruptible, open to any suggestion that comes with a fucking, envelope with some bills in it.
Right.
I think... So I want to say, I do think the biggest mistake any progressive movement can make is assuming that the other side is stupid.
Right. Never assume your enemy is stupid. Yeah.
I don't know that I would. Yeah, I don't know that I would describe Trump as well educated, but he is very clever.
He's true. Yeah. I mean,
very cunning. And he's very smart at the things he needs to be smart at to be successful at the schemes he wants to pull off.
Right. And he surrounds himself with people who will
help
that's the
thing. He's smart enough to know he needs to surround himself with people who are smarter than him to get what he wants.
Right. And to his credit, that's the whole Biden administration. Biden didn't do anything as president. Biden picked a bunch of people who could do the job, and they just did the job.
Yeah, I mean that's mostly why I voted for him.
Right,
and that's why I would have voted for him again. Is because
I mean every president does that to an extent.
Right, you have to. It turns out the federal government is a huge bureaucracy.
But I mean, I would have voted harder for Biden the second time, to be honest, because of the fact that he'd shown in the previous 4 years that he's perfectly, willing to just delegate processes and policies and stuff like that to the right people generally. And I mean, I don't think he's making all these fucking decisions. I mean, especially sundowning at 3 p.m. and shit. Anyway, but also Trump is this is Trump too, just so you know.
It's in fact Donald Trump.
Sorry.
I know you like Dick Dane. It's okay. You can show your dicks on the internet. It's fine.
Dicks are fun. I mean,
Dicks are
I like my dick. I don't like other people's dicks, but
That's fair, yeah.
Well, I mean, you also set me up for this, Morgan.
How is Dick Grayson, no matter who draws him, no matter, like, he's just the hottest. I'm not even gay, man. He's just fucking hot, right? Like, I guess just being named Dick, you're going to just carry that kind of swagger. I don't know what it is, man. He's just fucking sexy. Just saying. It's the glutes. It's the glutes, yeah. I mean, I'm not gay, but I'd be gay for Dick.
I mean, canonically, he has the nicest ass in the DC universe.
Oh, yeah.
That's been said out loud.
Yeah.
By characters in the DC universe.
Max, I get what you're saying, man, but I used to think that Nerdrotic was a fucking idiot too. But when you spend enough time, which please don't do this, but if you spend enough time like we have the initiatives and stuff, just watching the content and seeing the patterns of how he speaks about certain things and like he literally did a January 6th live stream, to celebrate January 6th, and just like he always knows exactly how to game the algorithm. He's not.
Right. He knows what he's doing.
In terms of being a human being that like cares about things regular humans care about, but he's not stupid when it comes to like Trump. It's the same kind of thing. It's just, I know how to fucking get the money out of the situation, whatever it is. I can exploit the thing that is most exploitable. That kind of shit.
I think Gary has significantly more raw intelligence than Trump does, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
because he has to do a lot more on his own. At least when he started out, he had to do a lot more on his own than Trump ever had to do.
It's one of the biggest, errors I made for a couple of years when I was doing this. Is just like writing Gary off as kind of an idiot, fucking, just kind of a dipshit. And before I realized that, he's actually kind of the fucking head of the snake with that shit, and he knows what he's doing.
Right. He knows his industry, and his industry is outrage YouTube culture. He's very good at it. And that might make him seem stupid, but he's playing a character.
Yep.
That's not... We don't see who he is as a person. We don't know.
Well, that's the thing that we don't account for that I'm going to really be trying to make a point of in this video that I'm slowly working on. That will come out eventually, tentatively called Wolverine versus Vince McMahon. Is that it's hard to... The thing that's hard to get in their head about is how they see like kayfabe, wrestling kayfabe. It's like there's plenty of people that watch wrestling. They know it's kayfabe. They know it's not real. Even though obviously I'm not going to say that it's not real athleticism and shit because it is.
Right.
But like the stories and stuff like that, they know it's not real, and they can separate the two, and they don't like take it super seriously. Whereas like there's something that it's hard to get into the brain of certain folks, conservative-minded folks, I think, that they don't. They also know that it's fake, right? But at the same time, they don't, or they still engage with it as if it's real in a way. And they're and I don't think that Nerdrotic is necessarily that way. I just think that he knows, like Vince McMahon did, how to exploit people who are perfectly okay living in that gray area of reality versus unreality, right? Yeah, that's kind of what I've been looking into a lot lately.
Well, I think, and you look at who the conservative movement appeals to. Right now, it's people who have nothing going on in their lives. Disaffected young men is the trope, but that's not the only ones.
No, because disaffected wine moms are QAnon now. So
right, and that's been a problem for a number of years now. And so it is people for whom consequence is not real, and whatever the most emotionally engaging thing becomes real. And this is how you get the January 6th riots. This is how you get a lot of this stuff. It's how you get people who genuinely believe that corporations ever cared about queer people and it wasn't just a marketing thing. Even though ask any queer person on the planet, and they're like, yeah, of course, rainbow capitalism is just a marketing thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they think everybody on the
left gives them the illusion. It gives them the illusion of agency. They can feel like they are part of the story, right? And they are doing something concrete. Like you can't shoot or beat up climate change,
right?
But you can shoot or
try to shoot it.
Yeah, I suppose. But you can blame the problems like the wildfires on homeless people or lesbians or whatever, and you can target them and do something, at least in theory, about that
to them. Yeah.
And so they feel It's a way of meeting people's needs to do something about the fucked up reality around them without actually giving them the power to change anything.
Right. And I think there's an interesting corollary I see in online left-wing spaces, especially so self-described online leftist spaces, of how they treat people who call themselves liberals. It's the same sort of, we can bully those people because they're wrong, even though those are your allies. And if you ask them what they think on certain topics, they broadly agree with you. It's just that they use the wrong word, and that's a word that is a dirty word in your space, but not in theirs. But you can do activism by being mean to that person.
Right. Yes.
But it does
I was actually looking into this a little bit yesterday, because I don't know if you guys, he's been popping up all over YouTube. This guy, Stavros something or other, comedian.
No, I have no.
He's pretty funny, and I just never heard of him, and he's suddenly everywhere. And I realized he's used to be the co-host of Come Town.
Do I want to know?
It was a lot like Chapo Trap House. So basically, what this did was it got me going down a rabbit hole of the dirtbag left, and kind of looking at how like Wikipedia describes that and shit. And how, you know, there's some of the valid criticism of the dirt, because there's like, I get the dirtbag left, quote unquote, perspective of like, look, civility is what's going to kill us. We can't just continue being nice to the people that want to kill us, you know, and the fascists and stuff. We should be able to talk some shit to them and you know, be dicks. And it's like, obviously I've adopted some of that myself. But at the same time, some of the valid criticism is that like it kind of rests on this male dominance thing of like intimidating people into thinking they're cool. You know, and it inherently, you know, leaves out certain people from the discussion, you know what I mean? And then it creates this kind of I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to read it verbatim.
It often also targets the wrong people as the enemy.
Right.
Like liberals, as annoying as they are far more easy. It's easier to radicalize a liberal to the left than it will ever be to radicalize a MAGA person to the left.
Right.
And but they get down this hole of like, you know, it's always reminded me, I've said before, it always reminded me of the new atheist movement, which is also fucking dead and didn't really make any progress. You know, of like, and I used to be part of this, you know, a group on Facebook where we would see some news story pop up where like they were forcing kids to pray at school or something in public school, and we would all fucking bombard the comment section and fucking make fun of the Christians in there and shit, you know what I mean? And like just talk mad shit to them and say, oh yeah, you know, I can't even remember some of the dumb shit that I was saying, but like, you know, there's no point to that. There's no utility in that. It's just to make myself feel superior. You know, even if I am morally in the right, you know, on the grounds that I stand on, the way that I'm behaving on those grounds is fucking stupid.
Well, another part of the problem with the new atheist movement is it wasn't based in atheism in a lot of ways. It was based in Islamophobia.
Right. But I do want to address this real quick, Paul, because no, he's smart enough. So there are things that he probably could get away with more if he didn't talk about them so openly. But there are things that he definitely intentionally, for example, a year before the 2020 election, he was saying that the election was going to be rigged.
Yeah.
That was on purpose. He
was laying the groundwork.
He's laying the groundwork, getting people familiar with the concept of the, you know, and you see how it played out. It worked, you know, not directly in his favor, but still kind of worked in his favor, because it's already, you could say that the support from people who felt slighted by the 2020 election was still with him in 2024.
I would say so. Yeah.
Look, I'll just say it point blank. Trump is smart. If he were not smart, he would not be the president again. And if you continue believing that conservatives are stupid, you will keep ending up with administrations like the Trump administration. You have to assume they know what they're doing and counter them as if they are an intelligent foe, because they are.
Administrations like the Obama and Biden administration, where everything they try and do that is helpful to people is stymied by a system that has been sabotaged by conservative governments.
Right.
Like we saw with student loan debt and laws that restricted the ACA and stuff.
That's cute. You think that there's going to be a future administration? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, there will be a future. There will be a future administration, because Trump is an old man who will die sooner than later.
Yeah, but that's why they put JD Vance as the vice president. As soon as Trump picked Vance as his vice president, that's when Peter Thiel
Yep.
got on board with him. That's when Elon Musk gave him
got-
$250 million.
Mhm.
A couple of other billion.
2022, Peter Thiel had publicly said that he was done supporting any, politicians for right now. That he was no longer on board with the woke stuff because the polls were not fucking bearing out. Like conservatives were answering in polls saying they didn't care about that shit, and they didn't care much about the trans stuff in 2022. Because that was when I remember having this fucking huge swell of hope that, like, oh my God, we're getting past it. We're really getting past it. But we talked about this the other night, I think, Bob, that the issue is that the thing is that those people, that hate trans people and whatever else, that they were going to do that no matter what. But they needed Trump to be the fucking, the guy to rally behind. They rejected DeSantis, who essentially wanted to do the same exact shit as Trump, and even had more evidence of getting shit done when it comes to being against wokeness, right?
Right.
Like he fucking floored all up on that shit, and it's like you got a guy right. This is how you know how they're not dumb, but they are fucking very programmed, and it's a Trump cult. But
They're right. It's a Trump cult, and the one thing that could turn it against JD Vance is if Trump dies in office. There will be conspiracy theories that Vance and Vance's financiers had him whacked. Now, odds are that's not going to happen because Trump is an 80-year-old McDonald's addict, and that's just how life goes sometimes.
Yeah. I don't think the people running MAGA, I don't think the conservatives and the billionaires who backed Trump and JD Vance understand how central Trump himself is to the whole movement. When he's gone, the movement will crumble.
Right.
Because the appeal of the movement is him.
Right.
It's not the policies.
Because you're going to have, I mean, it's like any authoritarian leader throughout history who dies. When they die, you have this fracture and balkanization that happens as people try to either claim the whole tomato for themselves or carve it up.
It's going to be like with Scientology, for example. When L. Ron Hubbard died, there was a panic. There was like this scattered, just sudden panic, scattered a reaction by several people high up in the organization to essentially see who's going to take his place, right? And there was a couple other people that were arguably closer to him and definitely I don't remember the names, but definitely were more on board with the lore bullshit of Scientology, but which is not David Miscavige. He's not somebody that has like been an ardent believer in the fucking lore. But he is a motherfucker who was just essentially shrewd enough and knew who to threaten, knew what levers to pull and stuff like that to put himself in that position. And so it's going to be that kind of thing where whoever it is that but like what's going to be funny to see is because unlike the cult of Scientology, the cult of Trump is not localized to a certain building or set of buildings, and they're not like literally going into people still have their lives regardless, right? However much they fucked them up since becoming Trump cultists. But you're going to have people that are going to, depending on how he died, like you were saying, it's like if he just dies of natural causes, if you want to call fucking a stroke from his 4 millionth fucking double quarter pounder with cheese, that I don't know. But they're going to be people that think he was killed because that's just the kind of movement they fucking cultivated. There's going to be people that think he was fucking assassinated. There's going to be people that think that. So if JD Vance does take over, if he's still in office when that happens, JD Vance becomes president, then anything that he does from that point on, any decision he makes, whatever he does, you're going to have a certain segment of people that are going to think, well, he's the guy that was chosen by Trump, and so we have to follow him. Then you're going to have this other segment that are going to just like, think that they know what Trump would have done instead.
Right.
But I mean, the fact is nobody knows because you can look at how it doesn't matter. Like what Trump says doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they're part of the thing that he ran on both times was being, isolationist essentially and not intervening with foreign issues and stuff. And then what's he doing before he's in office? Once he's elected, he's talking about like invading Greenland and shit. And it's like, what are you doing?
And honestly, I wouldn't put it past Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and the rest of the billionaires to have him assassinated
No.
I think the plan was to put Vance in power the whole time. Pardon me, there's a siren coming.
Double quarter pounder with woke.
So yeah, I think the entire plan, I think, is to have Trump eliminated and replaced with Vance.
Right.
I wouldn't put that past them at all. Not at all.
Like
I mean, this is honestly like, I mean, I guess there might be some truth to that, to them being friendly or something like that, and Trump Jr. may see that. But I mean, if you understand, like we did a whole episode on this, looking at JD Vance's connections and where he comes from and what he's about, and it's pretty clear that he was chosen for a lot more specific and nefarious reasons than just so Trump Jr. could be VP.
Right. It's if I recall, if you are the VP and become president, you don't have a VP because no one has been elected to that office. You would have to run again with someone to be your VP.
No, they can appoint somebody.
They can appoint an acting
Yeah,
VP. Okay,
I think they have to be approved by the Senate. I think.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah. All I know is that if
I think that the person they appoint then has to be elected to be the vice president for a second term.
Right, they would have to be.
I just know this, that if the first 42 people in line to be president all died, then the Secretary of Education becomes president. That's what I learned on Battlefield.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry.
Unless some of them are, because you can have members of the cabinet or ranking members in the Senate and House that are in line for president.
Yeah, it goes president, vice president, speaker of the House, and then it switches over to the cab, and then there's a descending order of
president pro tempore of the Senate, who's the oldest member of the Senate of the ranking party,
and then it goes to the cabinet.
Then it goes to the cabinet.
Yeah.
But if any of those people are not natural born American citizens, then it skips them because those people don't have to be natural born American citizens.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wouldn't. It will not surprise me at all if Trump dies in office under mysterious circumstances.
Well, and if he dies in office, and there's a good chance he will just from his age.
Yeah, to be clear, I think he will die in office, but I don't think I won't be surprised if there are legitimate questions about the manner of his death when it happens.
Right. And I think that because of the nature of fog of war and misinformation, in that event, everyone listening to this, stay fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody stay cool. Nobody go out posting their conspiracy theories. Don't start believing conspiracies because all you know is he's dead. And I would honestly start at that moment gearing up for the next thing because why he dies is almost immaterial.
Yeah, that's why they've been scrambling that's why Project 2025 exists. They want to consolidate power as quickly as they can so that when Trump dies and the movement falls apart, they will still have the levers of power
they won't
in their hands anyway, and then it won't matter. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's be real, Harlan. The vice president is normally incredibly quiet when it's not an election year.
Yeah.
That might be the most normal thing going on right now is that JD Vance has nothing to say on anything because
they typically once the election happens, they typically keep them separated.
Yeah.
And they keep the vice president under wraps in the event that the president-elect gets killed or something.
Right. Yeah, there's both security reasons for that and just normal procedural things.
Think about how much we heard from Kamala while she was vice president. And
we heard from her more than we heard from any vice president living memory because we had a tied Senate for most of Biden's term, and she was casting a lot of tiebreakers, which is the one job the vice president has.
Yep.
The one active job besides just being a member of the president's
that does
cabinet.
lead me to I was looking at an article, I think it was on The Intercept maybe. Maybe if you guys wanted to talk about it, but there's no point really. It's just kind of Monday, we're Friday morning quarterbacking at this point.
Sure.
There was so much effort. Like they really fucking the Biden team. Oh my God, they made a lot of really silly choices in trying to keep him insulated. And and things that were reminding me of what they said about Trump and his administration, like they were not letting him read bad news about himself, shit like that. And it's like, oh, what the fuck are y'all doing, man? But
as much as I like a lot of his policies, I think the mistake was running him as president in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean,
like in
he should have
2020,
done what he said originally instead of waiting to do it. He should have fucking just, I don't know who didn't stop him whenever he said, no, I think I'm going to go ahead and run again. I don't know who didn't try hard enough to go, sir, but
No,
remember.
I meant in 2020, when the party like rat fucked Bernie Sanders in order to, when Barack Obama specifically in both 2016 and 2020 rat fucked the Bernie Sanders movement in order to get either Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden the nomination. That was the mistake they made, the Democrats, right there. Despite the fact that they won the election, they knew that Joe Biden, they knew then. We're now finding out through like investigative journalism that they knew then that Joe Biden was sundowning already.
Right.
I don't know that Bernie could have won 2016, to be honest.
He came closer in 2016 than he did in 2020.
Is that right?
By the numbers, yeah.
Well,
I think he had a better case to make during COVID, though. Like with the COVID shit going on, I feel like he was making some strong cases with that.
Well, I think unfortunately whoever the Bernie figure is, unless the Democratic National Committee and the National Party the leadership has changed completely. There was always going to be this desire to rat fuck the most progressive candidate running because they're
that they think are agreeable to enough people,
right?
And then otherwise, just fuck them off.
Even though, like at the end of the day, I mean the ACA is not what Obama ran on, right? Like it's a good law; it's better than what we had by leaps and bounds. But it's not what he ran on. And the party rat fucked him on that, and everyone, just sort of moved on with their lives.
Mm-hmm.
They could let that most progressive candidate walk away with it, and they probably would. And then the right wing of the Democratic Party will stomp their feet and be Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and now Fetterman. And gum up the works and prevent the most effective possible change in getting us these mushy middle things. But that is still both better than what we had and better than what the Republicans would do. But the Democratic Party would rather have nothing and just be a permanent opposition party.
The Democratic consultancy class would rather lose to Republicans every single time rather than do anything remotely actually progressive.
It's why they after the convention they fucking sidelined Governor Walz, and that was your biggest ticket to all of these Rust Belt states is everything he's done in Minnesota.
That's the reason we stopped hearing them say the Republicans are weird and started seeing them like palling around with Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
Because they think the Democratic consultancy class, specifically the people like David Plouffe, the Pod Save America crowd, they actually believe that the key to winning elections is recruiting conservatives.
No,
despite the fact that has never worked.
That is not what there has been. And while it's true before the 50s, it certainly changes in the 50s. There has been 3/4 of a century of the Democrats are communists and outside foreign agents and un-American. You are not going to get conservatives
on board with that shit
to vote for Democrats.
I mean, however, there is the idea that, like, you know, when the infamous poll that's done when asked if they support Obamacare, they don't like it. When asked if they support the ACA, you know,
they do. Yeah.
So there is right there. It says there's some potential, if done very cleverly, strategically, to get more conservative people on board with, certain ideas, as long as it's not branded as a fucking socialist or communist thing first, which the fucking right is just their hair trigger on that shit, especially after Obamacare. There wasn't a whole lot of calling everything socialist and communist like pre-Obama. It happened, right? But like,
it was still a thing. It had faded,
but it was more like calling anti-war people like peaceniks and tree huggers and shit like that. That was more the form that it took, from what I remember.
Yeah, it changed, but it was still present. That Democrats were un-American; they weren't supporting the war.
Right, that's what it was. You're not patriotic. You don't love America. You're pro Sharia law. But then, once Obamacare, and then they realized how hard it was going to be to dismantle it. Because I don't know what I'm not. I don't know, man. Whatever Obama did, like, apparently did a pretty good job, because they haven't managed to fucking get the shit dismantled like they want to. They have weakened it in a lot of ways, but nonetheless. After that, though, they were like, no, we can't let this shit happen again. We have to fucking call everything socialist and communist now.
Right.
And so they do.
But the thing is, that's a strategy with diminishing returns for them, because that relies on boomers and some of the older Gen Xers who remember the Cold War.
Right.
And are actually afraid of communism.
That's why so much content is aimed at younger people, trying to revive that shit and spark it in the younger generations, because they recognize if they aren't able to successfully do that in younger voters and whatnot, which seems like they maybe have to a degree. Then
I think it's almost easier, because younger people, because even like I was born at the tail end of the Cold War. It was over by the time I was aware of anything. But like, there was enough of that around that I at least knew what communism was, and knew what it looked like on a global scale in some regards. Whereas, what communist country has any influence in the world today? There's 2 of them, and both of them are embargoed, other than China, which really isn't communist, and North Korea, which also isn't really communist. And we can debate how communist Cuba is or isn't. And I'm certainly not an expert in that field enough to talk about it with any degree of certainty. So it's almost easier to make communism the bad guy, because you can make it up. You can create what it is, because there's no one to go, well, that's not what the USSR is doing.
I think the secret to getting these policies passed in red states is going to be a progressive who infiltrates the local Republican Party, runs as a Republican, but advocates for Medicare for all, paid family leave, all that other stuff. That's going to be the breakthrough. It will not be, at least within our lifetime, I don't think, will not be a Democrat.
And the thing with that, though, is that guy will get outed. He has one election cycle to do anything, and it will have to be a guy.
Yeah. Well, it could be a coalition of people at the grassroots. Like I've been telling some of my friends that back in my hometown, which is like basically a Republican dictatorship.
Yeah.
I told them, switch your party affiliation to Republican and get elected to the local school board. Don't change any of your politics or your positions. Just the letter next to your name. Just take over the local Republican Party and make it leftist.
Well, and that's the New York model, right? Is that we have all of these conservative Democrats in New York. Here in Milwaukee County, we had David Clark as sheriff, run as a Democrat for years and years and years and years. But he is not a Democrat. He is not a liberal, not a progressive, not even a moderate. He is a far-right lunatic who hates the Green Bay Packers, which is like, how do you get elected to anything in Wisconsin hated the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, I mean, I recognize that even if I was going to run for anything in Wisconsin, I don't give a shit about football, but I'd have to say I was a Packer fan.
Yeah.
Just the same way you got to say you're a Christian or whatever.
I think in Wisconsin, it might be more important to say you're a Packers fan.
I got a couple of things here that Bob had shared. Just a couple little imageries to look at. So donation totals for 2025. Amazon.
That tracks.
Oh, wait,
and also,
Taylor Swift might, and I stress might, be the only good billionaire.
she is as close as you possibly could be. But yeah, there's still.
They say that even if all billionaires exploited somebody, but I mean, she definitely exploited, I don't know, some people's ears. No, never mind. I'm not going to insult her music. I'm not going to do that.
If she becomes Batwoman, then we know we're onto something.
Right, exactly, yeah. Well, and that's impressive. Can you pull that back up? I wanna comment on that a little bit more. Other than Amazon and Microsoft, all of those companies are headquartered in California. And I know California is a big place, but goddamn, like you can't even piss to put your own fire out. That really says something about American rich people.
Yeah, I mean, look, good guy Disney today donated $15 million to LA wildfire fire relief efforts. So,
oh, okay, well, all right. I will say one less bad thing about Disney in the next.
Maybe we should find a link to like an LA fire charity or something to share.
Also, so this is seemingly an outdated image. Because once it loads, one day, Warner Brothers Discovery 15, Amazon, Netflix, Comcast at 10 million, Sony chips in 5 million, Paramount 1 million. I mean, I guess that's about what I would expect based on how well these are doing.
Yeah.
Sony's like, look, guys, we're on the fucking tail end of the fucking PlayStation 5 cycle already. It did not go well. All right.
Well, I mean, at least they gave something, right? I mean,
yeah, that is more than like Sony is a Japanese company.
True.
Yeah,
they gave more than American companies did, and American companies that have sucked the orange penis.
Whoa! So the AccuWeather, just several days ago, estimated that the damage would be 52 to 57 billion. Then they updated that to 250 billion.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
I believe it. Well, also figure.
And you can bet that any relief money, they've already said this publicly, the Republicans, any relief money from the federal government is going to come with strings attached.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So here's this is another.
I want to talk about that just a little bit, because I think one thing that a lot of people have trouble understanding is that there are more Republicans in California than there are in most red states. In combinations of whole populations of red states, there are more Republicans in California.
I looked it up yesterday just for this discussion in case it came up.
Excellent.
There are more registered Republican voters in the state of California than there are in any other state, which makes that information public, even including Florida.
Right.
It's not more than all of them combined, but there's and it's close with Florida. It's only like 100,000 more than in Florida, but the largest bank of Republican voters in the country is in California.
So this is going to be Republican on Republican violence.
Yeah, because I expect the Republican delegation from California in Congress to resist efforts to attach strings to the aid.
Right. You would hope.
Well, then let me find this thing here. I predicted after seeing this, I predicted this on the stream the other night with Bob, that we're going to have a new Texas citizen soon. His house in Malibu burned down while he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. So something tells me this, just that information right there. He's moving to Texas, man.
Probably. Well,
if he doesn't already have a house.
Yeah, he probably owns more than one home anyway.
Probably.
Right. Of course he does. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, it's
sorry.
Yeah, we should find a relief charity, especially for those who are going to become unhoused or have become unhoused.
Yeah,
I think the LAFD has its own fund. I think the Los Angeles Fire Department.
That article, Bob, that you shared with the Newsom website, because that had one at the bottom. I remember.
Oh, perfect.
I shared it in the Discord.
I know, I just couldn't find it. Because I'm trying to stream at the same time. It's hard.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'll grab it real quick.
So the climate crisis reveals that our civilization has never really been organized around science, contrary to the usual Enlightenment narrative. It is organized around capital. Science is embraced when it serves the interests of capital and is often ignored when it does not. That's true.
True.
And this is a real shot in the heart to those of us that grew up on Star Trek and had visions of at least getting towards a future that would resemble that, because it ain't gonna happen. There's gonna have to be some kind of I don't know, for lack of a better term, come to Jesus moment when it comes to humans and what we're doing here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I just don't see that forthcoming.
I just dropped the Gavin Newsom link in the private chat.
Cool. Talking private.
But yeah, I think like that meme that I shared, I think highlights another reason people don't want to address climate change directly, which is that, the wildfires here are proof, and some of the other things that happened last year, like in Miami and elsewhere, are demonstrating that we're going to have to move entire cities eventually.
Yeah.
The places we have always traditionally built cities will no longer be livable very soon.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at I have to imagine that. I know for a fact. So I moved from my hometown in southeast of Texas after Hurricane Rita made landfall in my hometown. It just displaced me and everybody I knew essentially, for a few weeks. And then me and my friends who were already playing in a band in our hometown, we all, evacuated to Austin. We were like, why don't we just stay here? And that's what we did. But just a month prior to that was a hurricane called Katrina that barely kind of had affected us, but it really affected this place called New Orleans. And so many people evacuated from there, never going back. And, it was very common to meet somebody in Austin who was from New Orleans, you know what I mean? And then had moved there from Hurricane Katrina. So, that's the kind of thing we're talking about here is like people are going to be en masse escaping to the next city, probably closer inland or the wetter one or whatever the fucking, option is that's going to be better.
Well, and we already see even places like, Salt Lake City, humans build their nests by water, turns out, and our economic system of choice, well, not of choice, but you know what I mean.
Somebody chose it at some point.
Somebody chose it at some point, right? It has abused the natural resources that our habitat. We are destroying our own habitat at our own peril.
So, California cut firefighting budgets. This is a lie, according to Newsom. However, I do have that other graph that you shared, Bob, seemed to suggest that they did.
Well,
California and Los Angeles are different polities.
Right.
The city of Los Angeles cut the fire department budget in order to give more money to the cops, but the state also supplies money to the LAFD. So it's still unsure whether the cut the city made actually affected the fire prevention efforts or not.
So this is Fox fucking News saying Governor Newsom cut fire budget by $100 million months before lethal California fires. And he says, that's a ridiculous lie. We've doubled the size of our firefighting army, built the world's largest aerial firefighting fleet, and increased the forest management tenfold since taking office.
Though, sadly, a sizable portion of that firefighting force is in indentured servitude.
Oh, are they using prisoners?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I shared a thread from Threads about that too. It was actually kind of interesting because the guy
Threads.
Yeah, the guy, yes, I agree. I'm going to be leaving Threads soon. But it was an interesting thread nonetheless because it was a former incarcerated firefighter, and he was sharing some things about his experience, like good and bad. And the good things were really interesting.
Okay.
Like the slave wages was terrible.
Yeah.
But they like usually they're not people who are convicted of violent crimes, so they can get their record expunged entirely after their service there. They live in a camp. They're allowed to they're basically allowed to go wherever they want in the local community as long as they come back to the camp at the required hours.
You might have said, I was reading and maybe missed it, but like, isn't it they have to volunteer, right?
They do have to volunteer.
So I mean, it is indentured servitude, but it's not slavery.
Yeah, that's why I use the term indentured servitude.
Yeah, but the good things about it would be a strong foundation for building a model of restorative justice for people.
Can I just talk about Battlestar Galactica for because I'm rewatching it with Jen, and I haven't seen it in quite some time. And I'll be honest, like a lot of things that I understand about government and society and stuff like that, and I learned through watching Battlestar Galactica. There's a lot of stuff that's that's addressed throughout the show that, like, I mean, I'm talking, and this one was weird because it didn't have this kind of resonance when I first watched the show through, but it has a resonance now. Spoiler alert toward the end of season 2 of BSG. You got Gaius Baltar, who has been the vice president to Laura Roslin, and now he wants to run for president because the Cylon's in his ear, because he's he was technically responsible for the destroying of humanity. Anyway,
a little more than technically, but yeah,
he was responsible. He didn't know that's what was going to happen, but he did give a Cylon, not knowing she was a Cylon, the ability to access the defense mainframe, which allowed them to, genocide everybody. Anyway, so he's kind of not, and he's not a great guy to have as a leader. But he's running for president, and then the issue of whether or not to settle on this planet that they came across. That's not really a great planet, but it is habitable in one small spot, and a lot of people are just they're tired of being on the run in the fleet and space. They're like, look, let's just fucking settle down here. Cylons don't know where it is, and there's whenever the election is going on, there's like an issue of whether or not to cheat to make sure Baltar doesn't win, because Laura Roslin's like, if he wins, that'll be it. We're fucked. You know what I mean? Like, right. I'm just watching this like, this was made in 2007. Holy shit, this feels really prescient. But like then early in the show though, like maybe the 4th or 5th episode of the show, there's they address the issue of prison labor because they need water, and they found a place where they found a bunch of ice, but they have to have that ice converted into water. And they need a lot of manpower to do it. So there's one of the ships that's in the fleet is the Astral Queen, which is a prison ship. And so it's a bunch of prisoners, and it's like the morality of whether or not they need to force these people to do it or ask them to do it. And of course they end up making a volunteer program, but nonetheless, I'm just saying, man, there's a lot of shit you can watch in Battlestar Galactica that comes up over and over again in real life.
Ronald Moore is that's sort of the genius of Ronald Moore's writing, is that there's a timeless element to it, because that's like this is why DS9 has aged so well, right? Like I think there's a lot of things in Star Trek that don't age gracefully, where I feel like DS9 has aged like fine wine.
Yeah, because he was not afraid to address real life things that, like, yes, maybe the Federation is super, progressive to the point where they don't really have any conflicts, and they're post, money and stuff and blah, blah, blah. But like, you're out in the frontier in space, there's going to be some other shit going on, and that was what was brilliant about DS9.
Yeah. You were going to say, Bob?
Well, I was going to say, it's just because there are writers in the world who are smart enough to recognize patterns in politics years ahead of time. Mm-hmm. That's why their writing seems timeless. Like,
yeah,
anybody who paid attention to political trends in the United States starting in the 1980s could have predicted where we are now.
Yeah,
and many of them did, which is why we've had so many stories since the 1980s, sci-fi stories in particular, about dystopian futures. And there's actually I saw a great video essay. I want to say it was by I forget his name, darn it. But there was a great video essay a couple years ago going around YouTube that brought receipts from behind the scenes of
multiple
movies in the 80s and 90s with a billionaire as a bad guy, where they demonstrated it was always based specifically on Donald Trump. Always.
There was
if you went into the production notes or talk to the actor or whatever, always in some way, whenever someone had an evil billionaire in their story, it was based on Donald Trump.
It's pretty obvious in Back to the Future Part 2 that that's who it is, but then like also in Gremlins 2, it's less obvious because the actor, what's his name, John Glover, decided to play it a little bit more affable and friendly, even though the shit he's doing is still fucking, corporate dickhead.
And that's based on Donald Trump, because I mean, Donald Trump. If you ever watch like footage of the retail politics that Donald Trump does when he goes to visit diners and stuff like that, he's really good at that, and he is very affable and friendly with people and makes them feel welcome and like asks them about their lives, remembers their names, does all that other stuff. So anyway, my point was people who knew how to spot political trends could see this coming decades ahead of time, which is why Ronald Moore's writing feels so timeless, because he could see it coming. Maybe not Trump specifically, but the descent into authoritarianism for sure.
Right.
Well, and in the same, he still has it too. If you've watched, what is it?
For All Mankind.
For All Mankind. Thank you. He's still got it. Some weird decisions made in the most recent season, but I don't know. That's another story. So this kind of goes against what I thought. So water reservoirs in Southern California are at record levels. There's no shortage of water in Southern California. So is it just where's the shortage in California?
Well, that's being a little bit weaselly, because he's not saying the source of the water. It doesn't say that those are publicly owned reservoirs.
Water. Yeah.
It's water. I think it's something like 57% of LA's water is supplied by a billionaire, one billionaire, who sells it to the city.
Right.
And he's the billionaire that's in the meme that was going around recently that says there's a billionaire couple who all by themselves use more water than every other home in Los Angeles combined. It's that guy.
Right.
So the supply of water is there, but that doesn't mean it's like
accessible.
Ideally accessible.
Right.
Although I did not follow that hyperlink, so I don't know what it actually says. Oh, hello.
Hey,
hello,
Gordy. Hey, Gords.
What is that paragraph below that saying? Wildland firefighters don't use hydrants; they use water tenders,
which is a big tank, right?
Yeah,
and in general, it's my understanding in most cities in America, our firefighting system is designed to fight a house fire here or there in an emergency situation, not an uncontrollable wildfire.
Yeah, I was watching a live stream the other night that Dane shared a link to, where it was those two guys who were actual firefighters, like lifelong forest firefighters, and they were saying that there was no way to prevent this once it, all the initial conditions were set, because the winds, the Santa Ana winds up in the higher elevations were like 100 miles an hour, and there's no way to contain a fire under those conditions, because embers can land miles away and spark brand new fires.
Yeah, hopefully everybody prayed to our Lord Gordy, for the fires and everything. Yeah, I want to bring him on. I want to bring him on screen more often, because it's weirdly seem to have some kind of odd. I don't know. I guess it's just any time somebody's cat dies, I get kind of sad. But Vosh's cat Artemy died.
Oh no!
Because I saw a video about, just saw that video listed, and I was like, oh shit. And I watched, and he apparently died, and he told the story of how and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, because apparently boy cats can get like kidney stones a lot, really easy, and that can really fuck them up the way their junk is wired in there, and can kill them. And I was like, oh God, I started thinking about Gordy. He's, technically he could live another 15 years or something like that, but something like that could be,
Right.
Yeah, you should set up a Gordy cam.
I want to, but I mean, I guess I could. I could technically figure out where he's going to be most of the time and just turn it on whenever he's there. But yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know that the Trump family has a history of exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah. So, this is gavinnewsom.com /California-fire-facts. I imagine if you just go to gavinnewsom.com, it'll be pretty easy to find from the front page. If you want to dispel any bullshit that you see. I mean, look, Dinesh D'Souza, you can just guarantee anything this fucking guy says is bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he's literally was convicted of fraud.
Oh, here we go. Hollywood sign on fire.
Wow, that's weird because every one of these Hollywood sign is on fire pictures looks like a different hill.
Right.
Right. And it's always never the Hollywood sign itself that's on fire, just the hill around it.
The hill around it, yeah.
That's not true. I have one where the hill, the sign is on fire. Let me see.
I haven't seen that one before.
Oh, wait, maybe I don't. I mean, no, I only have the one that's the Hollywood did a sign that's on fire.
The stemmed from a satanic ritual, literal satanic panic. We've done it! Woo!
I guess
we have
there.
We have Fat Bingo, Satanic Panic.
Yeah, Fat Bingo, ladies and gentlemen. Whip it out.
Jesus Christ. I mean, do I need to tell anybody that
it's false? No way. Not this time. It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
So dumb. So fucking dumb.
Patricia Poling haunts us still.
So this is a link right here. Looking for resources and real-time information for the fire happening right now. That's not what I was looking for. This is it, where you can contribute to the California Fire Foundation.
Yeah.
Tax-deductible donation. The money will go directly to supporting firefighters in the communities they serve, including direct financial support to impacted residents.
Awesome. Make it happen.
Yeah, and I want to, because I want to just make a point of emphasizing, because I know that the talking point is going around among the chuds. The vast majority of the people who lost their homes in this fire were working class, poor people.
Yep.
In Altadena and in the neighborhoods affected in Malibu. Like we're so used to hearing the names of Los Angeles in the movies that I think people assume everyone there must be rich or something. Like all of these neighborhoods you hear about being on fire, like Malibu, Pacific Palisades, have residents across the entire class spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So some rich people in the hills lost their houses, yes, and that is a tragedy. But far more people who were working class lost everything.
I think I know who started the fires, guys.
Who was it?
He's got a YouTube channel just full of like Hollywood hate. So I hate this guy.
We've had to deal with Hollywood's woke onslaught of destructive agendas in their films.
Those are people that just want to tell stories that represent their social political views.
At Epicverse, we care about
canon and continuity,
excellent storytelling, and respect for our fans.
Respect the customer.
Things Hollywood has forgotten.
We don't want to make the same mistake as the other guys.
That changes today.
So maybe it's time for something new. Welcome to the Riververse.
That's why we launched Epicverse.
It's pretty clear he threw that hatchet that was on fire at the Hollywood sign.
That's how it happened. That's canon.
Yeah, I watched that video.
I saw a bit of that too. And interestingly, Hassan went and interviewed some of the incarcerated firefighters and talked to them about it. It was really interesting.
Oh, Hassan's actually doing a thing.
Because one of them was saying how, despite the drawbacks of the situation, it was therapeutic for a lot of them because they were being treated as heroes by the local community and getting support and love that they had never received when they were children. So it was like a very emotional thing for them.
It's pretty incredible what just like being appreciated and loved and valued can do for a person. which they don't do in prisons, by the way. They actively don't do that.
Yeah, like the guy Hassan interviewed was saying, when I was in the prison, I was seeing all this horrible shit every day, like people getting stabbed and work, and I don't know what's worse than getting stabbed, but grape and all that other stuff.
I mean,
and he was saying out here in this program, I'm like earning some money. It's not enough, but I'm earning some money, and my record will be expunged. I'm part of a community. So there were good things about it, and there's bad things about it, and I think it's something worth looking at. As I think the good parts of it, I think, are worth building on personally.
Right, a community release work program
Mhm.
that pays them so that they have something to come to when they have finished their time.
Yeah, and the fact that their records get expunged, I doubt all of them, but many of them that get their records entirely expunged, which means it won't hurt their ability to find employment once they're out of their sentence.
Do they go through the same training and licensing that unincarcerated firefighters go through?
From what I've read, they have to go through the same training, but they're trained specifically for fighting wildfires, which is not the same as urban fires.
Right.
They do have to go through the same training, but I don't know if they get I don't know if you can get a certification when you're in prison or not. I don't know, but
I don't know.
But the fact that their records get expunged means they could find work in that field, if they wanted to afterwards, or anywhere else, really.
Right.
Oh, there was also this whole thing. Let me find it. Well, basically, they were fucking idiots that were apparently. Here we go. We hit a drone this afternoon. First one, said LA County Fire Chief Anthony Marone. Our super scooper hit a small drone. He said the incident occurred over the Palisades fire Thursday. He didn't have details on who was flying the drone, but said the drone was destroyed and the super scooper, a massive fixed wing plane that can drop large amounts of water, was damaged. It put a hole in the wing. It's grounded now. You fucking morons. Keep your
Well, I'm surprised it was only one drone, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because who knows whose drone that even is? If it's a personal one, if it's a news org's drone that they were flying cameras to get footage. Oh wow, yeah, that does not surprise me because there are a lot of agreements to share those firefighting planes around the world. I actually know I have a friend of mine who is involved in that industry pretty heavily.
There's a huge contingent of Mexican and Canadian firefighters in LA right now.
Yep.
Well, so do we want to do any, quick comics chat before we get out of here? Or?
I finally caught up on Absolute Batman.
And?
I have not followed it.
If you like Absolute Superman, you will also like Absolute Batman for a lot of.
I mean, I read the first 2 issues of Absolute Batman. I just like I don't have the money to buy current comics, so it's hard for me to catch up on things.
That's fair.
The thing that it's not that it's bad or anything, is it's just this kind of off-putting about Batman compared to Superman, because I see where Superman is going and I'm on board with all of it.
Yeah.
With Batman, there's the whole his rogues gallery situation. I'm just like, what? I mean, I kind of get what they're trying, but I'm just not sure how it's going to play out. And
that's fair.
It's a little bit weird because I'm just trying to imagine. I can't imagine where it's going, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it'll turn out to be something I didn't expect, and it'll be great.
I am. If you'll pardon the expression, because this is the name of the publication effort that DC's putting in, but I am all in on Absolute Superman.
For sure.
Absolute Superman is one of the best 2 comics I'm reading right now, and I don't know that I could pick which one is better.
Yeah, I mean, I love Superman anyway, but this is really, really cool.
It's
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to go ahead and let everybody know that we're going to be starting this up pretty soon. This situation, and all are invited to join. the Valiant AF Reading Club. And what this is going to be is just, I don't know if we'll do like certain, like this issue to this issue of this title or whatever. We can talk about that, kind of, see what we want to do with it. But the reason that I ultimately chose Valiant instead of we were talking about doing the Massive Verse instead. No, because for one thing, there's way more of this. And also, if you can't afford to read comics on a regular basis to be part of a reading club, you can probably afford to do this because you can probably do it for relatively free, depending.
Yeah.
There are various ways. So one of them being like if you already have Amazon Prime, for example, then I think you get some access to Kindle, and you can read, I think, a good bit of the Valiant comics through that, no cost. Or you might have to pay, I don't know, an extra on top of that for whatever, I don't know, you have to look into it, but nonetheless, there are library apps, there's reading apps, and I'll even fucking suggest you could go to a couple of these other apps that maybe sail the seas a little bit if you're comfortable doing that, because look, these comics aren't making anybody any money anymore by and large. They've been, for the most part, they're going to make,
I do all of or most of my comics reading through the Hoopla digital app, which is a library app. If you have a valid library card, you can sign up for it. And they have a gigantic database of ebooks, audiobooks, movies, music, TV shows, and comic books. And I think I have not yet failed in finding anything from Valiant Comics on there. Their classification system's a little wonky, but if you know what you're looking for, you can find it. And you can borrow them for 21 days. It's infinitely renewable. So if you don't get through it in 21 days, you can just keep renewing it over and over again. Costs you nothing. And they are about 3 to 6 months behind current publication for DC and Marvel. So depending on what title it is.
But also another benefit of that is that those sorts of apps get money that goes towards your public library.
Yeah.
Your public library can go, we have this amount of readership that is tied to our library. We need funding at current levels or greater than. And public libraries are one of the greatest, most accessible resources of information that we have access to, even in the digital age. We don't, I don't use them as much as I used to when I was younger, but I would not be where I am without them. 100%.
So one reason to do this is, other than those very valid reasons, that's a very good reason. You could be donating to or helping contribute to your library, but also because if you're into comics at all, even if you're not into, cape shit, so to speak, these superheroes are not really like any superheroes you've probably read before. If you haven't read any Valiant, but you've read Marvel and DC or whatever, you're familiar with those characters. These characters are different. They're, almost like, it's hard to describe, but for one thing, they don't subscribe to any of the the prototypes that you expect. There's not like a Superman type character, right? Like there's no everything is its own thing and original. And there's some of these characters are difficult to like, and even some of them are morally kind of like, what the fuck? Ninjak, for example, was one that I didn't think that I was going to like when I started reading him, because he does heroic shit, but generally it's just, by virtue of he's being paid by MI6 British government to do some shit, some spy shit. But then he kind of just like, it's interesting. I don't want to give anything away, but like it takes a while to learn that like the reason why he is the way he is, and that he's a lot like James Bond, but also like Batman and a ninja. Anyway.
All the Valiant characters are interesting, whether they're likable or not. They keep your attention. Like my biggest surprise was Exo Man of War. I didn't expect to like that one as much as I did.
Me either. I remember seeing images of Exo Man of War back in the 90s in Wizard Comics, in Wizard Magazine, rather, and I'd see, a Valiant thing, I'd be like, what is that? Exo Man? Well, that sounds stupid. What is he, like Iron Man or something? And yeah, but no. Not at all.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, but no. More the no than the yes.
Dude, yeah, Matt Kent, I'm not sure how to say his last name, but his shit is some of the best. Jeff Lemire's as well. Yeah, there's just some incredible stuff. A lot of creators that you've probably read before if you've read Marvel and DC that have worked on this stuff. Greg Pak wrote Eternal Warrior for a while. We were just talking about that the other night. Kind of, yeah. I mean, well, so he's not quite as barbarian as that, but kind of at the same time. He's a what is it?
He's a Visigoth warrior, a Visigoth prince who was kidnapped by aliens in the 6th century, taken to space, bonded with their sentient powered armor that they worship as a god.
As a god, and they've had several of their people, their alien people, over the years trying to bond with it, and it rejects all of them. And so that's like their holy grail is to get one of theirs to bond with this fucking sentient armor. And then he just does, and then he becomes and like leads.
And then he comes back to Earth and finds that like 1,500 years have passed, and he's now in modern day.
Time dilation.
So what I found intriguing about him is that makes him both one of the most primitive people in the world and one of the most technologically advanced people in the world. Yeah,
it exists. Like it's pretty cool.
And he just wants to reestablish the Visigoth kingdom, you know, like on its traditional homeland of Romania.
So, and I didn't realize how far this was going, by the way, but because I hadn't read into this, I only saw the Valiant Beyond thing once, and I didn't look into it. But so recently they did. If you watched, whenever I had AJ and Padu on, he was talking about Valiant Resurgence, and that there was a, you know, it was kind of like seemed to be a resetting of the universe or whatever. Yeah, it seems like it. So
sweet.
In March. Reboot of the Valiant universe, Valiant Beyond in March 2025 solicits. So I don't know if it's going to literally reboot all the origins and like going to start telling their stories from number one. I kind of hope not. So is it a hard reboot or a soft reboot, I guess is the question.
Right.
Maybe this will
new storylines, origins and character designs promise fresh adventure in a reimagined universe.
So this would be the second time they've done this. So there was the Valiant comics of the 90s. Which not anybody not aware was created by Jim Shooter, former Marvel editor-in-chief. And he was allegedly kind of like a kid genius, essentially. Jim Shooter. He kind of entered the. Isn't he the guy? Yeah, he's the one that like wrote a story for DC and got put on a book, basically, just like as a fan. He wrote a story, sent it, and they hired him.
Damn.
And then eventually being, you know, editor-in-chief of Marvel. To when you hear people talk about working under him, he was kind of a dick. But like a lot of Marvel's, you know, successes took place when he was editor-in-chief. Same time,
right.
So,
I mean, I believe he was editor-in-chief when we had the Spider-Man story we've talked about before that broke the comics code.
I think so. And he was definitely the guy who it was his idea to do Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars, which was not a story idea originally. It was a toy line idea that they were like, oh, we better do a story to go along with it. But that's by and large considered the first, you know, line-wide crossover of the Marvel Universe.
Right.
So in news broken, well, let me finish reading this. New storylines, origins, character designs. Creative teams blend genres to deliver modern tales for mature readers in accessible format. And just to be clear, we won't necessarily be reading these whenever they happen. I mean, I will be personally. I'm sure Bob will too. Depending on how far we get into it, if anybody else wants to branch off and start reading some of this stuff at that point, you know, we can talk about that. But Valiant Zombies. News broken by Bleeding Cool last month. Alien Books and Valiant Comics have confirmed that they are publishing a line of new reader-friendly comic books beginning in March 2025, taking place in a new Valiant Beyond universe. So this is kind of like Absolute or Ultimate, I guess. Calling it a Valiant reboot. Call it a Valiant reboot, call it Absolute Valiant, maybe even the new 4.
Like the new 52, yeah.
We will begin with Bloodshot #1 and Tales of the Shadow Man #1, which launch in March, featuring new character designs, origins, and story arcs. Then all new Harbinger #1. Harbinger is still kind of hard to beat for me, man. That one got me really into Valiant.
Yeah, if you like X-Men, you will like Harbinger a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then Exo Man of War #1 will follow in April. Each character will receive 12 issues split across 3 or 4 issue miniseries. Issue #1s will be returnable for retailers. That's fucking excellent.
Oh, wow.
Because that's not something that Marvel and DC tend to do anymore.
Nope.
What that means for anybody who's not aware is that, like, so you have to, comic book stores have to order in advance, and they kind of just have to. The trick to being a successful comic book store is, by and large, like knowing what your readers are going to want to buy, because you have to order in advance, like how many copies of this thing, so they get solicits several months ahead of time.
Right.
And they go through and they go, oh, I bet people want to buy this, or they were not going to want to buy that many of this, so I'm not going to get a bunch of copies of this. So it's kind of a crapshoot when it comes to the big two.
Because what you have is the solicitations that we're seeing right now are these solicitations that comic book stores are getting.
Yeah.
And then based on their pull lists, they will make business decisions on their broader orders for what goes on the rack.
So, yeah, the existing Valiant Comics universe and characters will return in a special prelude comic. Okay. So I'm guessing that they died. But I mean, so this is they essentially they look exactly like, based on what we can see, they look exactly like what we know these characters as, except for this one kind of.
Yeah.
Again,
I only painted that as Harbinger because he's not one of the other three. That's not the Harbinger Foundation symbol.
Pretty obviously Bloodshot, pretty obviously Exo Manowar, pretty obviously Shadow Man. Although the Shadow Man mask is a little bit cooler. And that's the one AJ. I believe AJ is going to be working on that again.
Oh, cool.
From what I've seen. And then, okay. Spinning out of Resurgence of the Valiant Universe crossover event, Alien Books state that Valiant Beyond is designed to be new reader-friendly, ultra accessible. Each Valiant Beyond series will feature introductory price debut issues, extra story pages, new logos, and trade dress on the covers that help distinguish the line from what came before.
Nice.
As we enter into the second year of our partnership with Valiant Comics, so this is from the Alien Books guy, and come out of the Resurgence crossover event, we wanted to take a big swing and try something new. The success of Absolute, Ultimate, and Energon universes. So he is at least naming the people who's they're aping.
Yeah.
But works.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like, it's obviously a business decision to make more money, but at the same time, like, giving readers an entry point is a good fucking thing with comic books.
Because that is the hardest part with American comic books, is where the hell do I start?
And, generally, as we've seen, I've read a couple of the Energon stuff, and by and large, it does seem very popular. I can see why. It merged fucking Transformers and G.I. Joe.
Well, and like that's what IDW did as well. But it also has its own, the Energon universe also has its own original stories that weaves through those, where there was less interaction between, like, even though the G.I. Joe stories and the Transformers stories were ostensibly set in the same universe, they didn't really touch each other that often outside of some specific crossovers in books.
I did not know this, if that's true, but like in thinking about some of those old covers in the 90s, it kind of makes sense. They did seem a little unique. And yeah, Shooter created the new universe, which was kind of a failed thing. I was going to talk about that in my Ultimate series at some point.
1 second.
But I guess I can talk about this in the Ultimate series as well, which is, series where we talk about Ultimate. So basically, anytime that the big two has tried to, well, I guess, and now Valiant as well, tried to restart continuity to varying degrees of success. The kerfuffle. Well, because that affected publishing really badly. And essentially they're now doing like crowdfunding for a lot of their stuff too, which is, maybe that'll work out well for them. It's also just kind of like learning that makes you feel like, oh, they've fallen off a step. But maybe that's what they need.
I hope so, because Valiant has a great roster of characters.
It's really frustrating, especially after getting to read this stuff, and most of it I've read just since, talking to you, Bob, was like, you were like, you should get into reading it. And I did. So let's see, the success of those three from both retailers and readers for accessible and high quality storytelling. Our goal is to take inspiration from those lines while doing something that is distinctly our own. Yeah, good job. So Alien Books and Valiant Publishing Partners began in 2024 and saw the return of many iconic comic series. The release of trade paperback collections reprinting many iconic stories and runs. The Resurgence of the Valiant Universe event featured the heroes and villains switching allegiances when the maniacal Dr. Silk upended the rules of life and death on Earth. The game-changing finale to the Resurgence event, releasing in January, will also detail the birth of the Valiant Beyond universe, providing a pathway for the continuation of. So, okay, they literally are doing an ultimate absolute.
Yeah,
because it's going to continue as well. It's always been great at using superpowered characters to explore different genres. That's very true. Like, honestly, Marvel, DC, to varying degrees, they can do a comic where there's different genres explored a little bit here and there, but for the most part, they remain superhero comics.
Mm-hmm.
Valiant is fucking excellent at legitimately doing different genres. Like Ninjak is, he's a hero by and large. But like it is, there's spy stuff, just like espionage, noir, and like there will be whole issues that are kind of like told in that kind of genre.
Yeah.
Without just like bursting into a big superhero battle or whatever.
Although he did fight the entire Valiant universe. There was a whole series about that.
He fucking, not to win.
It was actually titled. It was actually titled Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. Yeah.
And yeah, he did not win, but it was essentially a standstill. It got to the point where like the plot necessitated that they stopped trying to attack him because he was like kicking their asses anyway. Anyway, so now that said, as much as I told you the other day, I'm like Eternal Warriors kind of man, I do appreciate his friendship with Ninjak, and I like seeing the stuff in the future where they're like the last two. You know what I mean? I don't know if you read any of that, but like that shit's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I find the Eternal Warrior is a little, I think he's the least interesting character, but he still interested me a little bit because the fact that he's been around, spoilers, but he's 10,000 years old, and he's basically fought in every conceivable way that you can imagine. So in the modern day, he's a little bit like, I don't really want to fight anymore, guys.
Conceptually, he is cool. I don't see that coming out in the characterization very often. I mean, except for when the moments where he's like that. But like, I was just reading an issue of it the other day, and he's just driving a truck, and it's just like, this is a guy who's been around thousands of years. I mean, of course he's going to drive, he's going to use the newest technology, but like, how is all that experience affecting this plot right now? It's kind of not, I guess, except that he's a badass fighter, so he's had a lot of time to practice. But anyway,
hi folks.
Hey, Morgan's back.
I'm back.
Hi. But Eternal Warrior works best when you read his storyline alongside Ivar the Time Walker and Archer and Armstrong.
Fair enough.
Because those are his brothers who are also immortal.
There's also a couple of like not one shots, but like character stories that are just dropped in that don't seem to be super connected to much, but they can be. Like there's what's her name? She's like the goddess of war or whatever. I forget what the name of that is. But yeah, that was pretty badass little one paperback worth of story. I like Livewire a lot. Livewire is a fucking cool character.
Yeah.
She is cool. And that was cool because you first meet her, I was read Harbinger first, and she's just kind of a ancillary character in Harbinger that comes up and is, a obstacle for the main character for a minute. And then she just kind of goes away. But she makes a choice in that story that like has a ripple effect on her path. Then down the line, you read the Livewire book and you read her another book, and it's like continues to grow her her agency and choices she's making, and considering she's one of the most powerful beings on the planet. It's pretty fucking cool.
Sweet.
So Bloodshot will battle a Japanese underworld hooked on a new drug with vampiric side effects. Cool. It will blend.
That's a little unclear. Does that mean Bloodshot is hooked on the drug, or the Japanese underworld is hooked on the drug?
Bloodshot's still hooked on nanites. The 3-issue Bloodshot will blend crime fighting, horror, and ultra violence as a mature reader's story. You'll find Bloodshot like you've never seen before. Literally, trapped in the Japanese underworld of the undead, he'll discover that this world is stranger, more complex, and far more dangerous than he ever imagined. And this issue is 24 pages packed with action, mad ideas, and one particular scene that I can't believe was approved. Cool. The team behind acclaimed Shadow Man Soul Eaters miniseries, writer AJ Ampadu and artist Sergio Moniz, will reunite to showcase a very different side of the anti-hero in Tales of Shadow Man #1. Set in a utopian version of New Orleans, the magic capital of the world, follows a detective trained in the art of voodoo who faces an unprecedented threat to her city. Out of options, she must summon the enigmatic force known as the Shadow Man to help save New Orleans from the forces of the dead side. Dead side's a cool concept too. I've really liked that, learning about that shit. It's like the underworld, but there are specific rules to it, and it's very explained in as much scientific way that it can without ruining the voodoo, so to speak, of it.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of a tabletop role-playing game called Wraith: The Oblivion, which was put out by the same people that made Vampire. And in that game, you play a ghost who exists in the underworld, which is like a shadowy reflection of the real world. So the geography is the same, and the dead side in Shadow Man kind of works that way a little bit, where when you first cross over, everything looks like a darker, more rundown version of the world you just left.
Like the Upside Down in Stranger Things. Did you just say that?
But you can travel to parts of it that don't exist in our world.
Right.
But you just have to physically move there.
Is it War Monger? I thought it was War Mother. I thought it was literally War Mother. Am I wrong? Anyway.
I thought it was War Mother as well.
So
I played a lot of Mage in the White Wolf games.
Gonna go ahead and read this quote by a friend of the channel, AJ Ampadu. It's a new era in the Valiant universe, and I have the honor of introducing a brand new version of Shadow Man. Shadow Man is an ancient god of unknown origin who has no memory of his past. He drifts through the shadows of the dead side, the mystic wasteland surrounding the utopian city of New Orleans. The impoverished residents both fear the Shadow Man and rely on him for protection from the greater evils lurking in the dark dead side. If someone needs help, they can summon the Shadow Man, but this comes at a great price. Nice.
Interesting. So it sounds like he's not bound to a single person like he was in the original run.
Seems like, they didn't mention what's the guy's name? I forget his name.
Jack Boniface.
Right. Huh. Oh, let's see. Well, I mean, they're calling him, so I guess. Oh shit! Look at this Exo Manowar, dude. Fucking shit, that's cool. Oh man,
that may be the best design of his suit I've ever seen.
It is, and I just got to the part in his ongoing where he kind of upgraded a bit, but that is a sick update. They definitely, you can tell they wanted to make him even less similar to something like Iron Man than he already was, and good job at that. So we might get into a part here that's going to make that's kind of frustrating.
Uh-oh.
So, oh man, that's fucking cool.
Oh,
so his sword he has a sword now. He's got like this kind of scepter thing, maybe.
It's almost got like a spearhead on it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know what, maybe they've just made it into an all weapon, but he can turn it into whatever weapon he needs.
So they're aiming for at least 12 issues per Valiant Beyond series.
That's cool.
Splits into arcs that combine to tell a larger story. Cool. We're optimistic that fan and retailer support will help us expand this line further with more miniseries and specials.
Well, as Bobby points out, it looks like a mace, and that's kind of, definitely see that too in it.
Yeah, in the original run, it always manifested as like a sword made out of energy. But it would make more, if he can manifest a sword, it would make sense he can manifest it as whatever weapon he needs.
Well, and if he was my tongue is tied. If he were a Visigoth warlord, he would have a wide array of weapons he was familiar with.
Yeah.
So Bloodshot looking pretty bloody.
That's in the name.
He's gonna be okay though. New origin, new universe, new starting point. Okay. A little bit less bloody. So cool. I remember I did have Bloodshot #1 as a kid that my brother had passed down to me. And I think I read like the first couple of pages and was like, I don't know, this is kind of dumb. Because he was like,
was it the original 1990s Jim Shooter era? Or
And,
Yeah.
I thought it was cool because it had the chromium cover, but you know, it just, I don't know, I was not ready to read something that wasn't just straight up superhero fare at that age.
They're giving us a lot of information on this.
Well, there's one thing I haven't seen yet that I'm pretty sure it's got to be here, and I'm not happy about it.
Uh-oh.
So here's Shadow Man.
Okay.
But cool. Yeah, it's very similar design to what he's had before, but like the white, those, you know, pointy parts of the mask are a little bit more pronounced, but still, they haven't changed them other than Exo Manowar. They haven't really changed them a whole lot. These characters.
Yeah. Let's see what they did with Harbinger. Are they not showing us?
Yeah, they're not showing us the other two yet. So
Gotta tease that out a little bit.
So I saw a name when I first saw this mention, which is what caused me to not look further into it because I got pretty frustrated. Apparently Mike Barron is writing something for Valiant.
That's not great.
Yeah. You know, which I just,
well, maybe what he writes will be good, but the fact that he's the one doing it is not great.
Less than ideal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's writing Nexus. That's what it was. Which wasn't originally okay, so it's his character apparently. So he wrote this character, I guess, in the 90s. I don't know. Valiant Entertainment concludes the resurgence of the Valiant universe, blah blah blah. But its parent company, Alien Book, also has the return of Mike Barron's Nexus. So this is out already, apparently. Mike Barron and Kelsey Shannon, out in December. Sorry. If anybody wants to see some of these other covers from the resurgence, they're also pretty fucking sick. There's that one. Their covers, like the interior art can be kind of, you know, subjective. You know, your taste may vary, but their covers tend to be almost like they're aiming for more prestige than Marvel or DC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got to finish this. I've read the first issue of this, and it kind of looks like was it what's the artist name? Shit.
To answer the Maestro's question, Mike Barron is Comicsgate adjacent. He's done work with Eric July.
Yeah.
That's the TLDR. I forget which particular shitty things he's said and done, but
I mean, as far as I know, I mean, I'm sure he has. I just don't know. But he's not known for saying a bunch of, you know, egregious shit. He's just kind of usually on the streams and you know, there, right?
Hangs out with them, yeah.
As far as I know, the most egregious thing he's done was made Frank Castle black guy in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But
what?
I mean,
he race swapped something? What?
He's race swapping, yeah.
That's a cool cover. You know.
So is Barron writing this, or are they just giving him credit because it's his character?
Right here. So he's writing it too.
Okay.
But I mean, at least this isn't part of the Beyond thing, I guess. So.
Yeah, I don't think Nexus was a Valiant character. It was just.
He wasn't? I thought he was.
I don't think so.
And then look, one thing the Alien Books did was they put out a shitload of collections over the last year. You know, like the stuff that came out before they owned the line. You got Craig Pack, Peter Milligan, Clayton Crane, like Trevor Hairsine. All these are fucking very talented people. I mean, Clayton Crane is an acquired taste, or you know, maybe he's not for everybody, but I loved his stuff whenever he was doing Uncanny X-Force. He's very good at violence.
And that's a very violent book. It's a very good book.
Britannia. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, Valiant. So Nexus is not part of Valiant.
Doesn't sound like it.
That's true, right?
I don't remember Nexus being part of Valiant. I haven't read all of Valiant, but I read a lot of it, and I don't remember that character at all.
I know that there's a couple of characters that were missing from whenever they brought it back. Like, was that one character that got bought, or I guess was owned by somebody else. I forget. But
well, originally when Valiant launched originally, I think, and they had the rights to some characters that they didn't themselves invent, like Turok.
That's what, yeah. That
And
was
Magnus Robot Fighter, I think, was another one.
Apparently, that Britannia book is a detective story set in ancient Rome, and that sounds rad as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what Valiant's good for, man. Is just like taking genres and kind of blending them in a way that you wouldn't expect to work, but then they do. Trying to find the graphic I made that showed that whole issue with Black Punisher.
Oh yeah, I remember.
You can watch the video on it. It's on my channel, I think.
Yeah, the video should still be up. It's a good one.
It's just funny because all these guys that talk about race swapping and stuff, when it literally never actually happens that a character's race is swapped, except for the one time that it was, and it was by one of their guys.
Right. You love to see it, except you don't.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, the collective she, the royal she, her stuff. And I just was reminded that I logged in, and then I was reminded that all of my stuff that I had on there is gone now.
Ooh.
From the buyout.
What stuff did you have? Was it stuff you personally owned, or was it just stuff you had access to?
Stuff I had bought I was going to play in an Eberron game, so I bought the Eberron book on there.
And it's gone now?
It's gone, yeah. So it happened. It was because I hadn't logged into it, and I don't know. It was just whenever I logged out a few years after that. I'm like, wait a minute, everything is gone. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, you still have an account though, right?
I still have an account, yeah.
Okay. Because I'm planning on buying the digital copies of the 2024 rules next week.
Soon.
Depending on when I get paid. And then I can just create a campaign on there and send you an invite link.
Right. And then I can read everything.
Yeah, you can read not only the 2024 rules, but everything else that I have owned as well.
Nice.
If I give you access to it, it's up to me what I show you.
Yes, you can control the opposition.
But I can gatekeep D&D finally. But that's what I think that's the best feature of D&D Beyond is the fact that if you are a player, you don't actually have to own anything. Just join a campaign and you'll have access to tons of stuff. And a lot of DMs just keep those campaigns open for their friends and whoever else wants them long after the campaign's over, so they can keep using that material.
Oh, we got Indie Alert right here. You guys maybe should check out if you're interested.
That looks cool.
So apparently, Oni Press brought EC Comics back last year. Fans of EC has its roots deep in our
they are foundational to our work.
Horror and sci-fi anthologies. Now it's time for the historic label to grow further with EC Cruel Kingdom. The new dark fantasy anthology is all about fantasy and its tropes, with a bit of sci-fi thrown in. The first edition, collecting 4 stories, features some of the comics' best creators. So, Blood of the Robo King by Greg Pak.
Shut the fuck up.
That sounds awesome.
That sounds rad.
Opens on a village made of wood, straight out of an earlier era of human history, yet skyscrapers line the horizon. These pious folks fear an invasion, but a few monk-looking folks have a trick up their sleeve, a robot knight. Pat crafts a story here to comment on those who proclaim themselves pure, yet use others to avoid sinning themselves. Look at this cover.
This looks cool. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay. So yeah, here's a 9. He's got a 9 rating. Great, but it's got 1 down point there.
See, stuff like this is. I hate to say this is going to come out wrong when I first say it, but I'll elaborate. Stuff like this is why I stopped collecting comics, because there was too much good shit coming out, and I did not have the money
for
all of this. But then now I'm stuck with like FOMO all the time.
Well, like as long as you can get the FOMO under control when it comes to like the big two, and like if you have Marvel app or DC app, or you just have whatever thing that you can read it all on, you can wait. Just be patient about the stuff that's coming out. Don't let the marketing hype get you.
Yeah.
But like spend your money. I would, in my opinion, I think if you're going to spend money on like a number one and like a new series, it would be stuff like this to try out. Like put your money behind the indie stuff that is taking a risk, because the other shit.
Yeah.
Like,
well, especially because like when it comes to Marvel, we've really seen that like the comic books are more a lab for what they're going to do in the MCU rather than something they rely on as the primary means of their income.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it does have an effect on the creators at the big two as well, because if the sales, they may not directly profit from the sales, and they maybe should, but like it does tell publishers, the editors, like, oh, well, we shouldn't keep publishing this because people aren't buying it. But that just is kind of another problem with the sales model of periodicals, in my opinion.
And the rights issues with comic stories, where like when they adapt stories, they don't always pay the writers who wrote those stories at all, much less fairly.
Bob, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I think I've told you before, but you are welcome to hang out after we in the stream to chat if you want to.
Okay.
No
we have a secret post game you're now invited to. You've passed the test.
After party.
So far, the theme had been let's talk shit on Bob of the old ways, but we can find something else to talk about too. So.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe talk shit on me. I love talking shit on myself. I hate myself.
yeah. That's the funny thing. Whenever I've seen comments in one of the videos about me, it's like these people don't understand. There's nothing they can't say about me that I haven't said worse about myself.
You can't hate me more than I hate myself.
You can't. You cannot.
No, they can't hate me more than I used to hate myself. That's the difference. It's like I used to hate the fuck out of myself and said and thought all of the worst things you possibly could, except you can't even imagine some of the things. Like none of these chuds have the ability to fucking judge me the way that I used to judge myself.
No.
Yeah.
So they got nothing. And now I'm just fucking invincible. But all right, guys. Good stream. Thanks for being here, fapping with us once again.
Yes.
Go get yourself have a smoke. No, don't smoke. Have a sandwich.
Have a sandwich. Have a beverage of your choice. Read a comic book. Play a role-playing game.
Here I'm gonna show like the first couple of minutes of this this video that's doing really, really well actually. From yesterday, where we looked at Thinking Shittical with Richard Pace and Ramon Villalobos, which by the way is going to be a pretty regular thing I think on Fridays.
Awesome.
This week Ramon might come on, I don't know, but like I know that Pace is going to be out of town, but then once he comes back, we're doing it again.
I know Bob of the Old Ways has a new video that just came out, I think today or yesterday.
Both. It was around midnight.
Oh, okay.
I think, depending on where you were in the country.
Right.
I didn't even plan for it. I just did it because I was bored.
That's fair. Hey, it was good. I enjoyed it.
It's not really doing numbers, so whatever.
Well, you know what? Yeah, we should watch that instead. I just haven't prepared that. What's it about?
That D&D game. Yeah, it's that little indie game we've talked about on the show before.
D&D. Is that like dogs and dragons or something? What is that?
It's I can't think of a good. I'm so sorry, I failed.
The best I could do was
I was trying to think of a good one.
Yeah, critical fail. Here you go. Hypnotic fails inside check about D&D. Check that out, guys. Give them some numbers.
Yeah, subscribe to Bob of the Old Ways. Subscribe to Actual Fandom.
Yeah, the algorithm. I don't think it quite knows what to do with my content really, because like if you look at the numbers on my videos, they're either like in the thousands or less than 100.
Right.
It's weird. So that might just be because I don't have a regular posting schedule, and
Well, I mean, honestly, what I see is that like you sometimes get a wild hair to just do what you feel like, and you're not worried about the algorithm, and that's fine.
Yeah.
This one, that type of thing. When it's like, I don't think people were still talking about Sydney Sweeney, but you wanted to talk about it, and that's fine. You should make content.
They were at the time that I made that.
Oh,
yeah,
that's why it's weird.
I've been disconnected from that shit a lot. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, you got good views on this one.
Yeah.
Let's pump these numbers up. I see you got a certain shut in there. He's got some bad takes for sure. If you don't fuck, you might fuck around and get a cum beard on the thumbnail, Bob.
Oh, fun.
That's what he likes to do.
It's been my dream since I started YouTube.
Well, you know what's weird is what that says about him, right? It's just like that's the thing you go with, huh? Very, yeah. That's what you go to. I feel like that's something about him.
Hypnotic loves cum. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He just loves them cummies. Yummy, yummy. Give me cummies. That's him.
And if he loves cum, he should explore that somewhere else with a consenting adult.
Yeah, you don't need to fling that at somebody else. Don't fling your cum fetish at me.
He just strikes me as like a throwback to the early aughts internet tough guy thing.
Oh yeah,
he definitely has struck me from the beginning of like, oh, you're getting into this on the tail end of being a showed on YouTube, being like a cool thing. Yeah.
Yes, I did actually watch Rogue Elements.
Salute the man. Subscribe to him for that and watch that video. Anyway. All right, guys. I will see you. I think we're going to be doing a Shillcast this week.
Woo, Shillcast!
So that should be fun. Be there.
I'll try.
All right.
Yeah, be there.
Did you say be there? What did you say?
I said, yeah, be there.
Be there. Comment in chat so I can ban you.
All right. So, oh, wait, I got an outro here. I forgot about that. Okay. Peace.
May Bill Gaines shine his heavenly light upon you and impregnate you with many happy days and joy fetuses. May your anuses be cleansed by the purifying light that exudes from Bill Gaines' eternal dragon phallus. Should you meet your mortal demise this day, go with comfort that you have satisfied the commands of the one true Bill, those being this: read comic books. Fuck the dumb shit. Be yourself. Love each other. Also, read more comics and grow your hair out all goddamn while. Amen.
Actual fandom is not going to stop.